of folks here tonight, some really special folks with us. So we like to monthly recognize volunteers, neighborhood groups, special people here in the city of Troy who are going above and beyond their call of duty. They're stepping up to the plate, whether it be doing great things in your neighborhood or individual efforts or partnerships with the city of Troy. So we want to thank all of you. And the first one, we'd like Johnny McWhinney and some cadets to please come on up here. And we'd like to recognize you, and we'll talk about Johnny and his incredible efforts. And we'd like the cadets to come up with us also. Hi, Johnny. Say hi. Awesome. Thank you so much. Some of the cadets could come on this side and some over on this side. You guys are wonderful. This is awesome. This is awesome. Come on over. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. So why is Johnny and the cadets with us tonight? Well, and I also have to thank Councilmember Gully because he brought the lemonade in for the folks who couldn't be there. So Johnny McWhinney actually, this past summer, decided to open up his own lemonade stand. And this is really cool, folks, because Johnny has done this now for the past few years, and he actually donates half of the money he makes to the Troy Cadet. And believe it or not, he has raised hundreds of dollars. So we're going to introduce Johnny, and you met Johnny, and we're just going to go around real quick if you guys can pass that along and just say your names, and that'd be great.
I'm a sergeant with the cadet post, Sergeant Matt Gardner.
Cadet Sergeant Manuel Perez.
Cadet Ryan Meyer.
Cadet Jonathan Barcher.
Cadet Shane Stone. Cadet Colin Russell.
Cadet Tyler Harris.
Cadet Philip Brown.
Cadet Connor Dance. Cadet Hunter Clayton.
Cadet Matthew Lemire.
Cadet Kaylee Castle. Cadet Jocelyn Flynn.
And Cadet Braden Cunningham.
Awesome. These are super special folks, and it's Ralph here. Come here. You're not getting out of this, mister. This is the guy that oversees the cadet program, folks. Come here. You're welcome. First, I'd just like Ralph to give a quick overview of the cadet program, and then we want to talk about our special guy, Johnny.
Ralph Southworth, Sergeant with Troy PD. Been here for 15 years. Currently, I oversee the cadet post. I've been doing the cadets since 2011. The cadets are a youth organization. It's volunteer. It's for youth 14 to 21 that are interested in a career in law enforcement. Currently, we have 21 kids that are a part of the cadet post. We do actively recruit, so if you know anybody that's interested in law enforcement or if they want to learn about Troy PD, how to help the community, you can always reach out to me. Again, Ralph Southworth, Troy PD.
Thank you, Ralph. Ralph does an incredibly amazing job with all of these folks. And the cadets, real quick, any of your relatives, moms, dads, are they police officers now or in law enforcement? Can you raise your hands? That is very cool. Very, very cool. Well, I'd like also the cadets, parents, are any of you out here, if you could raise your hands? Come on in, please. Please, come on in. Come here. You're not getting away with this. We just want to.
I couldn't, you can.
We just want to personally thank your parents for being incredible role models, for supporting you in this effort, and we'd like to give a great big hand to your parents. And now let's hear from our man of the hour, Johnny McWhinney. Johnny, tell us when you started this, how you started, and how you got involved in donating the money to the cadet program.
I started 3 years back because my sister was in the cadet post, so we thought of an idea to raise money for the cadet post, so we started selling money.
Do you want to be a cadet someday and maybe a police officer or in law enforcement?
I want to be a cadet one day.
Awesome. Thank you, Johnny. So the city council, we have for Johnny a wonderful proclamation. Whereas 10-year-old Johnny McWhinney has set up for 3 years in a row. And whereas he donates half of the money he makes to the Troy Cadet Post 41-02. And whereas Johnny has raised hundreds of dollars, I almost said thousands, hundreds of dollars someday for the cadet program. Jim Gully was a big customer, so I wasn't sure if it was thousands of dollars. He brought us lots of lemonade. It was very nice. As well as raising awareness of the program throughout the capital region. The City Council hereby thanks Johnny McWhinney for his efforts on behalf of the cadet program. Your hard work, your generosity are an inspiration to all of us and to the residents of the city of Troy. On behalf of the City Council, Johnny, we want to thank you. You are a future leader, you're a future cadet, and we are so proud to have you as a part of our city. Thank you, Johnny. Your cadets just want to add anything?
I think Matt Carter does.
Matt, thanks. Go ahead.
Say what it's like to be a cadet.
So with the Troy Cadet Post, we do a lot of work throughout the community. We'll help volunteer at Rock Mountain River, patrolling around, making sure that everyone's safe. We do different parades, everything. We help out with DWI impact panels. They're a big sponsor of ours as well. So you guys see us out in the community, come up, say hi. We love talking to new people.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the cadet program. Johnny now is officially also a member of the Uncle Sam committee. Johnny has an Uncle Sam pin here. Johnny would also like to present the checks or money to the cadets, correct? There you go. Oh, let's give it up for Johnny. Now, if we will group real quick, cadets, come on over. We're all going a bunch. Come on, we're going. If I have my selfie stick, it'd be a lot easier probably. There we go. I know you and I know your mom. There you go. Stay right here. We gotta make sure Johnny's here, all right? Everybody say, Johnny! Johnny! All right.
You guys make me look small.
Let's give a great big hand to Johnny, the cadets, and Ralph for running such a great program. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Great
everybody.
job, guys. Thank
Hey,
you.
Rich.
Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. Another great big round. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. You know what, folks? I think they wanted to run our meeting. I think they do a great job. The next, now this is a very, very, very special girl. Thank you to the parents again. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Now, this young girl actually was here last year.
And I heard it be my security.
And I would love to call up Jada Robinson. And I did that last time. I did that Jada and I, we met last year. And, we were going to have a little bow, but I think you kicked my butt. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the two-time Silver Glove champion and an elite national champion, Jada Robinson. And I think last time she let me try the bell gun, but anyway, tell us really about your journey. It's truly amazing.
Well, I've been boxing since I was 5 years old. And, it's just been a very big journey. I came, since I was 5 years old, and like things just got bigger and better, for me, because, I am a female and like things don't really happen for us, but I just hope that I'm opening doors so that things happen for us.
Now, folks, this is all about girl power, right here. Girl power.
Girl power and belly power.
Let's go through this. Jada, seriously, you are a true inspiration, and I think Jada is our first person who's been recognized twice. So, whereas Jada Robinson is a two-time Silver Glove champion and an elite national champion, and whereas Jada Robinson won the 2017 National Junior Olympics boxing tournament for her weight and class. Is that junior weight, welterweight?
It's intermediate.
Intermediate. All right. And competed in the 2018 Junior Olympics Region 1 Championships. And whereas on June 27, Jada Robinson won the 2019 National Junior Olympics boxing tournament. I'm next to star here. I'm nervous here. I am next to star. The City Council hereby congratulates Jada for her determination and success. Your achievements are an inspiration to the residents of the city of Troy. And go ahead. I say it here a lot. I was an athlete growing up. My dream was to be the first woman in Major League Baseball. Guess what? I didn't make it. I ended up city council president, right? The stars are aligned for you. The sky is not the limit. You are going way past the sky, Jada, okay? And what I'd like you to tell us, what is what here?
So I won this belt here in Kansas, the National Silver Gloves Tournament 2018.
And where was that?
In Kansas,
Yeah.
Missouri.
Kansas, Missouri. Okay, how about this?
And it's upside down, but I won this belt 3 days after I came from the Junior Olympics in Schenectady.
Okay.
And I won this belt at Swinburne in Albany, New York. And I won my gold medal in Madison, Wisconsin.
I gotta tell you, forget about Tom Brady's Super Bowl rings. We got Jada here in Troy. On behalf of the City Council, we'd like to present you with this incredible proclamation that certainly outweighs all of your belts. But we want to thank you for your commitment, your dedication. I can only imagine what you put in to get these. It's incredible, and you are certainly a future leader, a star right now. You're a superstar. Where's your mom and dad, your folks, whoever? Where are they?
My coach is back there.
Get up here, get up here. All right, come on. Anyone that has been in sports knows what the mom and dad, what the moms, the dads, come here, mom. Come on, Mara will take care of this. There we go, right here. All right. you are going to introduce yourselves. What's your name?
Jeremiah Robinson.
Okay, and you are not Jada's brother. I am. How old are you? How old are you?
9 years old.
All right. Do you want to follow your sister's footsteps?
No.
What do you want to do?
That's your
Yeah,
secret forever.
Be a doctor. All right.
That's it.
I'm Jada's coach.
All right. Sam, did you want to Jim?
Well, Jada's been working hard, and out of 16 gold medals in the world, Jada has one of them. She's from Troy, New York.
I take it your brother.
My name is Davion Malinowski.
Okay.
I'm Jada's stepbrother. And I don't want to follow in Jada's footsteps, you know, I'm gonna grow up. Well, I'm gonna grow up, be successful, and become a marine biologist.
Woo! All right. And you know what? I have a stepbrother. You're Jada's brother. You're that stepbrother. All right? And very, very important here.
Hi, I'm Jada's mom. My name is Chuka Thompson, and we are so proud of her for bringing home the 2019 gold medalist, Olympic champion out in Wisconsin. Jada was graduating from the 8th grade to high school. June 25th, she was supposed to walk across the stage. She could not walk across the stage because on June 27th, she was winning the Olympic gold to bring back to Troy.
Mom, you know, you're proud of Jada, obviously, but real quick, just the commitment and the dedication and the passion that goes into this, I can only imagine. Can you tell us what that is like watching your daughter?
To be a female in a male-dominated sport, it has been very exciting, very different. We thank Albany Boxing on Quell Street for allowing us to be over there to train with her trainer, Samuel Bunch. It is a family affair. That's my brother. So her uncle is going to bring her right to the Olympics. And we cannot forget one of her head trainers here, Tony Marshall. Absolutely.
Tony's former junior welterweight world champion.
And also to my husband, but it is a lot of work and a lot of dedication for a female to be trying to go pro in a male-dominated sport. But Jada rocks.
Good evening, everyone. Coach Mike Brownson, Jada's father. I can't explain to you the joy that I feel when I watch this young lady perform. I see her put in the work, and I mean, it takes countless hours, and she doesn't stop. She does it in the gym, she does it at home, and she lives it, she breathes it, and it just means so much to me to be able to call this young lady my daughter. There's nothing on this planet I wouldn't do to help her dreams come true. And I'm just so happy. Thank you.
And you know what, and lastly, see, this is what it's all about, folks. I mean, this is Troy, this is Troy. But Jada's mom said something to me, that Jada's GPA, 80%. Wow. Jada does rock, and I'm gonna ask Jada real quick, show us a little real quick. Come on, show us real quick, just give us, real quick, just give us a little tip. Give us a little tip, Jada. Go ahead.
What numbers do you wanna see?
The one that don't reach us.
Yeah.
Don't get too close now.
Thank you, Jada. Thank you, Jada. Let's give it up for Jada and we're gonna take a quick picture. Everybody say Jada! One more time. Jada!
No one
Thank you.
because he's always safe there.
Oh, yeah, Jada's brother has one more thing.
Have a good day, everyone.
Hey, Doc.
Right here.
All right, we got one more.
All right. Now last. All right. We got some really, take care of Jada. All right. Jada's got to run for mayor. No, I'm kidding. No, I wouldn't either. All right. This next group of folks, it's such an awesome volunteer group. Let's bring out here, we have Seamus Donnelly, Heidi Knobloch. I'm not sure if Mike McLaughlin's with them and anyone else, but these volunteers are amazing. How are you? Good to see you. All right. Jonathan, get up here. Yes, you were a part of it. I saw the paint. I saw the paint on your clothes. I'm surprised Jonathan didn't wear his painted clothes to really show
Join
you.
the crowd. Back here with me.
You're probably wondering what these folks are up here for. Well, I'm going to let Seamus Donnelly tell you the story, but if anyone downtown has seen these incredible Troy Remembers Stonewall 50 artwork, these folks created that. So I'm going to let Seamus and Heidi tell you how this all came about. They're really incredible people. Heidi, Seamus? All right.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks for coming down and seeing all the artwork and everything. I appreciate it. And this was kind of a cool project that just got started one day. Actually, I had a little bit of an idea. Troy should do something for Pride. A mutual friend of mine and Heidi. So, well, Heidi kind of had an idea too. So we got together, did a little collaboration. It was really a great group effort. Myself, Heidi's wife Kelly, Barbara Nelson from TAP. We all got together and kind of came up with this whole design. It started off maybe doing like one rainbow somewhere, and it turned into about 10 or 12 of these stencils, and we actually could do like 40 of them, which we just couldn't keep up with. But it was pretty cool how receptive people are. There's one all the way down to like the Red Front, up into Hoosick Street, a bunch of different great places. A lot of good volunteers. You know, a couple people that aren't here, Mike McLaughlin, Michael O'Brien, Kelly, Heidi, Jonathan Shannon, my personal friend, Chris Ryan, actually from Ryan's Wake, was the one we were going to do a rainbow. He said, well, it's the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. And we were like, that kind of got the spark going. And Dan from Tectonic Designs really was kind of the superhero of it. I wish he was here. He made these phenomenal stencils in like 2 days that we could get it down. So it didn't just kind of highlight, you know, a good public art project, how inclusive Troy is, but it kind of shows that when a couple people in Troy get their minds together, they can definitely make anything positive happen. So I think that was, you know, that was really the most exciting part. And people hearing afterwards that some people where these were, that it would spark conversations at local restaurants and bars. I thought that was really great too. And I have to thank Monica for helping out as well in the beginning process, thanks to the deputy mayor. And
Yeah,
It was a really great project. Seamus approached me about it. We just decided to do something, and it was a really good art project for the city, and we hope that there's more of them.
And Heidi fails to mention, she's very modest, but she has invested quite a bit here in the city of Troy, maybe cell phone.
I own Plum and Schwartz on 2nd Street in downtown Troy, and you should come by.
If you've seen a pattern here tonight, it's really incredible folks, like I said, who are just going above and beyond. They're not relying on government to do their job. They're stepping up to the plate, and they're really making a difference in their neighborhoods. And I must say, Heidi, Seamus, we love what you're doing. We want to see more of the artwork throughout the city. Do you plan to have any more, or is it complete?
I think, I would say that, we still have the stencil, definitely something to do. And we definitely did say that it was something that we were looking into to do Pride events in the future, for sure. And we're all about the art projects, working on something possibly even at the Congress Street Tunnel. That's not specifically with Pride, but we're just kind of diving into this whole public artwork thing, beautify the streets. And I think it's a way that not only can show how much we care about the community, but it just brightens it up. And everybody needs some beautiful artwork in their life, let's be honest, right? So looking forward to that.
Awesome. And, real quick, I can't say enough how our city is so welcoming, so inclusive, and certainly you guys are a big part of that. So we want to thank you guys for stepping up to the plate. We love it, and we have a resolution here that we'd like to present both of you, and I'd like to read it. Whereas Seamus Donnelly and Heidi Knobloch wished to celebrate Pride Month in the city of Troy. And whereas they also wish to honor the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, a significant milestone in the LGBTQ movement. And whereas, I'll say, Seamus and Heidi, we have the last name, Seamus and Heidi, brought together a group of volunteers to paint vibrant Troy Remembers Stonewall 50 artwork in the front of participating businesses during the month of June 2019. The City Council hereby thanks you for this innovative public art project that celebrates, in Seamus's words, peace, love, and resistance. We love it. Thank you so much.
Seamus, congratulations.
Yes. All right, everybody.
Heidi.
We're not gonna let you leave.
Heidi.
There we go.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm already cool.
All right.
Everybody say pride.
Pride.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you again. Let's give it up for Seamus, Heidi, and all the volunteers. Thank you. Jonathan, thank you. All right, thank you.
Give me the microphone.
Check, check.
Clear.
There it is. I'm searching for my umbrella.
Okay,
Last time I
hi there,
came here, it was
folks.
raining.
We'd like to welcome you once
that's
again. Thank you again to all the special people out there doing special things. We'll open it up now to the public forum. We would ask anyone that would like, this is the agenda portion. So we would ask that you keep your comments onto any item on tonight's agenda. You will have 5 minutes if you state your name and address, and we'd ask you to come to the podium if you'd like to speak. Yes, Frank.
Well, it's been a long night, thank you. Frank Baby,
Hi, Frank.
North Central Community and Solidarity Group Director, 54 years a resident of Detroit, 9.5 years in the military. I served as a medic, 4 years Marine Corps, 5.5 years Army.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
First and foremost, we just like to, North Central Community and Solidarity Group would like to just show some appreciation for a few people that have done a couple things for us. North Central community is definitely at the North Central community, and so that's north of Hoosier Street all the way down to 111th Street. We're basically Hillside North, but we do go all the way down. We extend ourselves not only to, we go past 111th Street, all of Troy, we like are all about Troy. So with that said, we want to show some appreciation. We do community meetings, as well as community meetings, we do community events. We like to start this off by saying thank you, extending a supreme thanks to, we've had a couple of events, one at 10th Street Park in Troy. We had that back on the 17th, and then we had another one just this past Sunday, the 31st. We had that at the Powers Park, and we want to extend a supreme thanks to, I'm not sure of his title, but I'm sure he's like the foreman or the supervisor, Mr. Kevin Graber of the Park and Recreation Department, along with everybody that involved with the Park and Recreation Department. They had the layout looking tremendous for us, and we really like to extend our thanks for that. And I'm speaking on behalf of everyone that showed up to that, especially at Powers Park. We had hundreds of kids there. It was very clean. We had things open, so we really like to extend a thanks to them. We'd also like to extend that thanks to Mr. Jim Gully, who had the keys for the power outlets and assured us that that power would be on. And we spoke to him, and I called him daily, and he went out of town, but he got back here and he got it done. And so he sacrificed a little portion of his golf tournament for us. So we're extremely thankful and grateful unto him. We're grateful to anybody that extends themselves to us in any manner. And believe me, that was no small matter. So Mr. Gully, thank you, sir. Also with that, we like to, well, let me thank also, I'm gonna go around.
Frank, I don't mean to be rude, but do you have anything on
Yes,
the agenda?
yes,
Cool,
I'm
thank
going,
you.
let's go there right now.
Thank you.
As far as the agenda, things that happened tonight, we want to thank our District 2 council person right now, Ms. Debbie Garrett, for addressing that issue with zoning and planning as where the Hoosier Street study in the North Central Hillside and that advisory committee. We certainly like to know who those people are, and so that we can be in touch with them. I'm pretty sure that she would follow up on that. So we want to extend our thanks to her because a lot of things happen, a lot of things come into the North Central community in the Hillside North, but we rarely ever see who these people are. And so we'd like to definitely be a part of that. So we're asking that anyone, any and all that have info and everyone involved in that, please, be accessible to us. Let us know, get us some information, put it on the tables. I'll come down here to get it. I'm here on this 5th floor like twice a week, gather any information that I can. And Ms. Garrett is she's outstanding with us. She stays in contact with us. So we need to know that because we need to know what's really happening up here in North Central area and Hillside North. Again, I just want to extend a thanks right now to also, this is a big part of what happens around here. We want to extend our thanks to the Detroit Police Department for their aggression now, or much, they have a greater presence on 8th, 9th, and 10th Street here in Hillside North, for the little places that they have been, because now people are starting to slow down, which is what we want. They're slowing down because they have a greater presence there, and now people are looking for them to be there, even if they're not. So again, we'd like to extend our thanks. We don't really complain a lot. You can see the energy here as to, again, on that. You can see the energy in the building on the Exton thing. I don't think I have to say anything about that. You can look around, you've been outside, you can see what the energy here is on that as well. One more thing, and then I'm gonna get down from here. I work per diem, I have to get back. We have wires hanging on Main Street. We had a big truck come through there that had no business being there, and it came through and it knocked these wires down, right? And these wires are hanging, and they've been hanging there for about the last 3-4 weeks. And we've addressed this, and a lot of kids cannot come out now. Their parents won't let them come out because these wires are just hanging there. We don't know if they're alive or not. And we've asked about these wires, and they're telling us, well, they belong to cable or they belong to the phone, and we're going to just get rid of the wires. So we're asking that can't be done. We did talk to some members of National Grid today. They said even if the truck did hit them, that these wires it wasn't their fault, really. But no, the wires had to be 14 feet high or something like that. So we're asking that someone can come, and get these wires out of there so we can get our kids out.
Consider it, yep.
All right.
We'll
Really address that,
definitely
please,
take care of that.
please
And
address that. And if you need to see it, I have pictures in my phone. I can show you where these things are. Again, thanks to everyone.
All right.
North Central Community in Solidarity.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Frank.
Would anyone else like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Justin McClung. I live in Brunswick, but I'm with the sustainability booth at the farmers market. And I've talked to a couple of the meetings previously. I just want to talk to the plastics ordinance. On the styrofoam issue, despite the misinformed statements by the Dart Industries representative at the Finance Committee last week, single-use food containers are not reasonably recyclable in the state of New York. Their own website lists only 2 sites in the entire state of New York. The Yonkers Recycling Center only accepts material from town residents. They check your ID, and no commercial waste at all. A private company in Tonawanda, New York, north of Buffalo, 300 miles from here, accepts what they call clean food packaging. They say that means that anything outside the actual food packaging, but nothing that has been touched by food. So in other words, there is no recycling of food containers in the state of New York. One criticism of replacing styrofoam containers is the higher cost of some alternatives. My group at the Troy Farmers Market is looking at the possibilities for considerable cost savings through bulk purchases for the farmers, the vendors at the farmers market. Easily extend this to other businesses in town. Most of the food vendors at the Troy Farmers Market and many of the food businesses in Troy already use compostable and recyclable containers. The overall costs of continued styrofoam use are enormous. A 2016 study by St. Louis University found the annual cost of styrofoam to be $7 billion for cleanup, landfills, health risks, and long-term environmental damage. These costs are paid by the cities and the taxpayers, and not by the styrofoam producers. On plastic bags, 100 billion plastic bags are used in the United States each year. That is over 300 bags per person per year. Population of Troy is about 50,000. That's about 15 million bags in Troy. In 2004, the city of San Francisco estimated the cost of cleaning up plastic bag litter from the streets is 17 cents per bag. You can calculate that out. Only 1% of plastic bags are recycled. That leaves about 14,800,000 bags in the city of Troy every year to the landfills, street litter, clogging drains, and polluting lakes and rivers. A fee for paper bags can be used to provide free reusable bags to promote sustainability initiatives and motivate people to bring their own. Combining a plastic bag ban with a fee for paper has repeatedly shown reductions in overall use of all single-use bags by 60 to 90%. Companies sell a product in the container it comes in. In the current model, the incentive for companies is to produce the cheapest possible containers for the greatest profit, regardless of any long-term concerns. The customers and the municipalities pay for disposal, no matter how expensive or noxious that may be. Links to these studies and more are on our website, xtroy.org, or visit us at the booth at the Farmers Market on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I would ask the folks in the back, we do have seats up in the front. We would ask that you come in, just it certainly won't crowd up the back there and would free up some space, please. Awesome, thank you. We do have a sign-in sheet. It does not mean if you didn't sign up, you can still speak. So we're gonna go by the sign-in sheet. Judith Ink?
Can I speak after other residents in Troy?
Absolutely. Caleb Winters?
Good evening, I'm Caleb Winters at 1002 Peoples Avenue. I'm also the chair of the Upper Hudson Green Party. I'd like all council members to support Ordinance 73, known as the Plastic-Free Hudson River Act Ordinance, This modest proposal will encourage the use of reusable shopping bags and the reduction of plastic polluting our streets and waterways. Council President Mantello and Councilmember Gully should support this legislation because they are on the Green Party ballot line in November, and it has been part of our platform for a long time.
This legislation could also be amended to include other environmental protections in our platform, such as instituting mandatory composting of organic waste, which would reduce approximately 80% of our trash, educating businesses and residents about mandatory recycling and finding violators after notice of noncompliance, removing waste sites, incinerators, polluting industries, generators, transportation hubs, and highways, especially from oppressed communities. Commit to the zero discharge goal of industrial and agricultural pollution in our waterways and watersheds. The emphasis there is on industrial waste. And require full liability to be assumed by all companies operating in Troy despite bankruptcy or merger for all waterways and land cleanup projects proposed. Regarding ordinance 80, where it mentions the Troy Police Department, make the body cameras happen this year for all officers. Force the mayor to reactivate the police objective review committee. Give Port the power to fire Sergeant Randall French for murdering Edson Devon. And fire PTA President Nick Laviano and Chief Brian Owens for supporting the murderer.
All right. I would ask as we move forward, let's just respect each other, okay? Anastasia Robertson, are you here? Yes, you're in the front.
Evening, everyone.
You could pull the mic right down, Anastasia. Thank you, thank you.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Robertson, 788 3rd Avenue, Lansingburg, New York, 12182. In regards to, I have to go with the agenda, then we're speaking about, one of this, I believe there's an ordinance in regards to police cameras.
Anastasia, I'm so sorry. The sound in here is terrible. You can pull it down a little more or even pull it out if it's easiest. There you go. Thanks. Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to police cameras, though they may seem like the perfect answer to some of the issues that we're experiencing as Troy citizens and Troy police officers, etc., they are not the answer. Because we're finding that police cameras, regardless of what they record, whether they're civilian cameras or police cameras, truth has a way of somehow still being pushed under the rug. So the cameras obviously are not the answer that we thought that they would be, working on behalf of truth and justice. So when it comes to whether or not we need to spend extra money to install police cameras, I seem to have an issue with that because we've looked at things barefaced on and we've seen tremendous injustices. And yet, the authorities that be look at the same exact footage and they don't find the findings that everyone else can claim to see. The cameras only seem to work when it comes to taking out an injustice against someone, attempting to incarcerate someone, attempting to shut down free speech and justice. It does not seem to work on behalf of citizens. So I don't see the need to go through all of this energy. We've spent a few years not having these cameras because the budget didn't seem to quantify having them. The money was just never there. When you did put in street cameras, they went into so-called high crime or targeted areas. They did not go throughout the city of Troy. Because if it was about protecting and serving people, and bringing truth to light, they would have went throughout the entire city of Troy, not just select areas like D2, mainly. They're not to be used as just ways to find people because somebody went through the yellow light and we decided it's a good month to raise our revenue and give out tickets. If you want truth, first you have to change the minds of people, not the cameras. It's not the cameras that's faulty. Everyone can see with their own eyes. Truth prevails in darkness. For that reason, I say that in terms of budgeting for cameras, it's not a necessity because we don't use them in fairness. We do not use them to serve. We only use them to protect our own personal interests. And the interests are never those of the citizens of the city. We spoke about the city being inclusive and inviting everyone. It's wonderful that we have people that are willing to do these wonderful mural projects and so forth of inclusiveness. I applaud that tremendously. It's wonderful to see the city recognizing a young sister who's fighting her way to the championship of the world. That's wonderful. However, when you don't remember your everyday citizen, whether it be me or someone else, when you don't respect the rights of people to be human beings, when you just don't respect truth and justice, cameras have no role. They are only used to twist the truth and to cover up that which is inconsistent. So I guess on that particular item is all I have to say, but I will be speaking at public comment at the end.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have an Omar Therese.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Omar Terry. I'm the director of the Plastic Food Service Packaging Group with the American Chemistry Council. Oh,
Yeah, you could
Gotta
pull
get
it
that right
out.
close to
Yep.
you.
Just speak right into it. Thank you.
can you hear me now?
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Omar Terry. I'm the director of the Plastic Food Service Packaging Group with the American Chemistry Council. I come from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak before you all today. I'm coming to talk to you respectfully opposing Ordinance 73 as it's currently written. PFPG does want to work with the city of Troy as well as other members of the community to make sure that polystyrene food service and plastic bags and straws do not end up in our watersheds or in the environment. Something that the industry is doing globally is supporting the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, where the industry is providing $1.5 billion to clean up the most high leakage countries where a lot of this marine debris is coming from, specifically in Southeast Asia. Some of the things, though, that we want to work with the city of Troy locally on is a method that we think would be much more effective in tackling litter overall. One of those is through something called the Stone Recycling Coalition, where municipalities and localities can apply for a grant that they can get a densifier to be able to take that polystyrene off of the streets and be able to recycle it. And that would be free to the city of Troy if it is able to get that grant, and that's something that we'd be willing and happy to work with the city of Troy on. A secondary option is to utilize an investment mechanism where we can build and raise funds to build out the recycling infrastructure here in Troy to get not just polystyrene, but also all types of litter off of the streets and back into our recycling centers so that it's not polluting the environment. And we believe that that would be a much more effective way to combat the situation, considering that similar cities such as San Francisco and Honolulu, who have looked into this, have stated that changing polystyrene for different materials has not had any beneficial effect when it comes to getting waste and litter off of the streets. And so we do not want to greenwash the issue. We recognize that there is an issue here, and we would like to work with you to combat that issue in an effective and practical manner. We have reached out to this member to see if there is a way that we can engage in on this issue. We have not received any word back, and so we are hopeful that we can talk to the entire council at a meeting of your choosing so that we can walk through the steps in an appropriate manner. At that time, I'll leave it up to questions. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you. Next, we have Paul Pope. Paul Pope.
Good afternoon.
I'll find the right place here. Is that good?
Yeah, if you'd like to just pull it right out, it might be easier.
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Paul Poe. I'm with Dart Container Corporation, which you've heard about earlier, before I got here. I just want to hit on a couple of points, and I'm particularly going to talk about the polystyrene, section 189-2 of the ordinance, and the language of this bill ordinance says food service establishments are prohibited from using single service polystyrene foam. And I want to start just conversationally and say Dart Container is one of the world's largest producers of food service products. We make everything from foam, red Solo cups. If you've ever been to Five Guys and got a little ketchup cup, when you turn it over, you'll see the name Dart on the bottom of it, or the name Solo on the lid. We make plates, both paper and plastic, and we also make hot paper cups like Starbucks would use now. And there are certain restaurants that have gone away from using foam, and that's a corporate business decision that they've made, and that's the way it should be. If you are a restaurant and your market demands a product that is paper or compostable, and I'll talk about compostable in a second, that business should have the right to do that and charge a higher price for the coffee or whatever product they put food in. And then at the end of the life, whatever municipality disposes of that product, it's going to cost more, because it may seem counterintuitive, but if you look at a life cycle analysis, and I did send in my testimony earlier to the clerk. I don't know if you had an opportunity to get that. If not, I can bring it around, but.
Well, we'll make sure that that's forwarded.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And in the life cycle analysis, like I was saying, it may seem counterintuitive, but, and I'm not here to badmouth any product, because we make foam cups and we make paper cups that hold hot products. Foam products are less natural resources. It takes less water, less greenhouse gases, and less transportation costs to distribute. A paper cup is not just paper, it's actually 10% polyethylene. Because if you had a straight paper cup and put something liquid in it, it's going to soak right through the bottom. And so to recycle a paper cup that's lined with polyethylene or wax or whatever, it has to be boiled, which is energy intensive. And then when the polyethylene is removed, then and only then can that pulp from the cup be recycled. On the other hand, a foam cup, a foam clamshell, and the other number 6 polystyrenes, which are, there's an OPS. Like if you buy cut up fruit in your supermarket, they come in a little clamshell. That's also polystyrene. And if you have, you do have a limit, it is true that there are limited recycling opportunities here in New York, but that can be changed.
Do you mind, I'd love to invite you to a future maybe finance meeting or informational meeting, and we have your testimony, and we'll circulate it to the council. Could you start wrapping it up, because it is really informative, and I appreciate it.
Chair, and just a little chair, I do have a question. I have a
Oh,
question.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, while we do have you here, would you feel comfortable retracting the misleading statements that Dart made at the last meeting that stated that we currently as a community could be recycling our single-use food service styrofoam packaging?
That was my counterpart, Christine Cassidy, who's I'm the manager of government affairs for the East. Christine's the manager for recycling in the East. We do.
It was a yes or no question.
Yes, I will not retract her statement because we do have wash and clean facilities. If there's food left, a residue left in a foam container, it's rinsed off and chopped up and melted. As compared to a pizza box that has grease on the bottom, that paper is not recyclable because it's contaminated. Foam does not have that issue. So I will not retract the statement, as you said, was misleading by Christine last meeting.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. And we'll circulate your testimony. We appreciate you stopping by, and thank you. And I think Councilmember Gully would also like to, at a future meeting, have you come back.
I'm
okay?
happy to come back at any time. I have more notes than I know I had time for, but if you ever have a cocktail party and want to fall asleep, invite me. I'll talk about it.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you
Paul.
very much.
Thank you. Maybe my son, you can help me with my son.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, next on the list, we have Myron Getman, 135 Delaware Ave.
Good evening, my name, can everyone hear me?
You could pull it right out.
I tend to
It's-
talk loud.
Yeah, you can pull it right out, sir.
My name is Myron Getman. I'm a resident of District 9. In my daily life, I work to reduce the amount of waste I produce in an effort to lower my environmental impact and to better gauge my consumption. Not only does doing so help reinforce my household budgeting, it allows me to better observe what I'm actually discarding. After composting, recycling, reducing, and reusing whenever possible, the dominant form of waste in my household is single-use plastics, whether in the form of packaging, containers, or utensils. If I, being careful about what I use and throw out, produce predominantly plastic waste, I can only imagine the single-use plastic waste the city of Troy collectively produces. Eliminating the use of styrofoam food containers and limiting the use of plastic straws as proposed in Ordinance 73 is a healthy and forward-looking move for Troy. These plastics are unsightly litter, and they break down into endocrine-disrupting chemical leaching microplastics in the environment. Something our non-resident industry representatives here failed to mention. Troy's location on the Hudson, one of the planet's most well-known rivers, grants it the rare opportunity to visibly do something to do its part to reduce microplastic pollution in the oceans. Additionally, reducing plastic use reduces the need for petrochemicals, which in turn reduces greenhouse gas production. I'm a geologist, and I'm perfectly well aware of the methane production in the simple extraction of oil. Methane is 80% more heat trapping than carbon dioxide. I may be wrong, some of my environmental friends would probably be happy to correct me on that. Some might say polystyrene, some of our other plastics mentioned this evening, is recyclable. Well, that is a factual statement on its face. The truth is, styrofoam is not recycled. Don't listen to the people in the back of the room. As we've already highlighted, there's only 2 locations in the state of New York, and most is rejected because it is got food on it. Just look at county waste. They don't accept it for recycling. They're local. There is a reason for that. The truth is that there is no cost-effective way to recycle used food containers, and they are landfilled or end up as some form of pollution. The only way that they were recyclable is they used to be outsourced to China, Thailand, Vietnam, and other locations. Similarly, straws are a problem. Asking for a straw is not overly difficult. However, by requiring consumers to do so, the ordinance will reduce plastic waste, but ensure those who need them will receive straws. This, I see, is an effective compromise. Encouraging people to reduce the waste they produce needs to be encouraged. The 5-cent fee for paper bags is not burdensome, but it will provide feedback to the customer and business. Hopefully, both will come to the conclusion that while paper bags are better for the environment than plastic bags, durable and reusable shopping bags are the best economically and environmentally sustainable choice. I believe Ordinance 73 provides businesses the opportunity to adjust to the environmentally sound changes. Passing this ordinance may not solve the world's plastic addiction, but it's a start. The ordinance probably doesn't go far enough. You mentioned polystyrene, for example, or polyethylene. It may not be perfect, but we must not let perfection be the enemy of the good. Pass the plastic-free Hudson River Ordinance and put the communities and the environment's health before corporate propaganda and profit. And in closing, I'd like to say that I find it extremely disgraceful the way that the city has handled the Edson Devenant issue.
Thank you very much, Myron. I'm having a tough time reading this one. Brad Riddell.
So, it's Brad, and
Oh,
really,
so
my name's
sorry, Brad.
really George. My father started a business making polystyrene foam in 1981, and so I've been part of that my entire life, and I do know a fair amount about it, and I think that passing Ordinance 73 is unfair. It's unfair to New Yorkers. It's unfair to restaurants, and it's not a good move environmentally. Polystyrene foam is, in fact, more environmentally friendly than most of the alternatives. I'm just going to do a few things here and demonstrate that. So this is how we recycle polystyrene in the factory. Is we take it, we chop the pieces up into this, and then we process that into these beads. Then we stick the beads back in, and we make more containers with that. And our 8 cartons, they use up to 50% post-recycled. Here's a foam tray that we sell meat on, and it weighs 10.1 grams. That's how much plastic that is. So it's only a little bit of plastic.
So it's not gonna be recycled?
Yeah, so I will. I'll show you that. Exactly. So that's what you have here. This is an alternative product.
Please, just if the audience could
This is
let them speak, okay?
So here-
Please.
here's an alternative product that might be what you get with a band. This weighs 30 grams. This is a 30 gram. It's 3 times as much plastic. I'm not su-
If we could just ask the audience, he has 5 minutes.
I'm not sure that's good for the environment. Here's a foam container for chili that I got at the Big M from Sam. And this is a total of 6 grams. And you make this illegal, you might get this. This lid alone is 6 grams. This is also polystyrene. So these two are the same environmentally, these are the same impacts, but now you got this. This does have a polyethylene coating and is not recyclable. Alternatively, you could get this 34 grams. So you made something, the ordinance makes something that weighs 6 grams against the law, and the alternative product is 34 grams. That's better for the environment? I don't think it is. Incidentally, here's 3 egg cartons. Here's a foam egg carton, weighs 15 grams. Here's a molded fiber, 62 grams, by the way, had a broken egg in it. This is absorbent. Is that what's going to happen to that broken egg when you recycle this? You're going to have, I guess you're going to have some organic matter in there. And is that healthy? I'm not sure. This is 48 grams. The ordinance takes a plastic that's 15 grams, and in favor, you get something for 50. That's not an improvement from an environmental aspect. That's going backwards. Foaming plastic is not a bad thing. It's a smart thing. It gives you lower densities, uses less natural resources. If you don't like it, gas and oil, and you don't want us mining tons of it, don't take the most material efficient thing and ban it. You're going to be building refineries if you're changing from this to this. That's what's going to happen. And, just look what Albany County did. They took a 3.5 gram polystyrene container, made it against the law, and got a 10.7 gram container that's not recyclable. This can technically be recycled, so can glass. But glass, you're collecting it, but I'm guessing you're not recycling it because I know it's used for landfill layering roads. They don't even recycle glass, but everybody thinks it's great. And then this is okay. This is a polypropylene foam container, 10.5 grams. So we ban something with ordinance 73 that weighs 3.5 grams, and we get something that weighs 10.5. So it's just not as straightforward as polystyrene. I've been making this my whole life, right? People say, "Oh, just be ashamed of yourself." And I said, no. As a matter of fact, I'm not, because it is recyclable. It has a low environmental impact. It's safe. We follow the Global Food Safety Initiative. We run our factories to meet a BRC standard, and we're audited by AIB. It is recyclable. It's just, it doesn't bring any money. So nobody wants to recycle because it doesn't bring any money. Well, what in that bin is bringing money today? Is anything in that bin bringing money today? I think you got to look at it. It's not so simple. It's bad banning. It doesn't work like that. And then the other thing,
Thank you, Brad.
I have
You
one
could
other
start
comment.
wrapping it up.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm going to
you.
make one other comment. The reason I got involved in this is because I felt like it was a threat and was ruining our family business. It was a threat to our family business. It's a threat to the people who work for our family business. And we sold our family business because of it. That's why we sold our business and we got out. I didn't want to own a business that had no value at all. So we sold it while we could, and we got out. And that's all I have to say. And if I would like to, if you have further questions about it, I'd be happy. Yeah.
Thank you,
I do.
sir.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
so much
Brad.
for having
Thank
me.
you. Thank you. All right, we are going to move to Henry Frew. Henry? Hi there, Henry.
Hi, my name is Henry Free. I live on 2nd Street in Troy. And I speak to urge the City Council to approve the Troy Plastic-Free Hudson River Act. There are widespread community voices in support for this act, and it's gratifying that council members have voiced support for it. But there are also voices of uncertainty and doubt murmuring in the air. Some say that it's premature. Come back when all the details are worked out. But this act has been worked and reworked. Its makers have done their homework. Not every detail can or should be legislated. And environmentally, it's already long overdue. Delaying further will only increase the problem and complicate the solutions. This act is well researched, well formulated, well considered, and it's well nigh time to do the right thing. Some say it's too costly, as though doing nothing will be cost neutral. But waste disposal is costly. We're all concerned about the rising cost of disposal, not to mention the vanishing space for that disposal. It makes more sense and will be less costly in the long run to reduce the volume of waste up front by adopting this act. We're also paying a heavy environmental cost. Raw material extraction, the release of toxins by the manufacture and use of these materials, the impact of macroplastics on wildlife, the permanence of microplastics in our water and food and bodies. All of these are costly, and it's not sustainable. We're already paying a huge cost and damage to the earth. Let's at least pay a pittance to heal it. And some say it should be a county-wide act. Aim big instead of small. But let's be honest. There's neither apparent effort nor interest at the county level to pass a similar act. The reality is we don't have a choice between doing something small or big. It's a choice between doing something effective here and now or doing nothing at all. I know we have the heart to care for the health of a fragile planet. I'm sure in the city of Troy, we have the intelligence to solve challenges that might emerge from the act. And I have confidence that we have the resources to retool ourselves for a sustainable planet. The only thing standing in the way is political will. I hope that tonight, Troy City Council will display that will to do what is right, what is doable, and what is healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Next, we have Elizabeth Moran.
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Liz Moran. I happen to be a resident of Troy. I live at 300 3rd Street. And I'm also speaking today on behalf of my organization. I am the Environmental Policy Director for the New York Public Interest Research Group. We are a nonprofit advocacy organization based in Albany, and protecting the environment is one of our principal priorities. We are here today to urge the passage of the plastic-free Hudson River Ordinance. So I have to begin by addressing some of the industry arguments that you've heard this evening. It's tiring hearing time and time again, X waste is worse than X, hitting them against each other when the answer is they're all bad, and we have to reduce our solid waste, period. So let me begin with single-use plastics, because it's no secret to anyone that we are in the midst of a plastic pollution crisis. The public is intimately familiar now with horrifying images of plastic pollution, sea turtles with plastic straws in their nasal cavities, seabirds and whales decayed with their bodies filled with plastic waste, and children wading through plastic-laden waters in other parts of the world. We are responsible for this crisis. 9 million metric tons of plastic waste enters the oceans every year, and it's estimated that there's a total of 150 million tons of plastic in the oceans. That waste is not going to be going away. That lasts in the environment. It breaks down to microplastics. As others have said before me, it is now ending up in the food cycle and consequently is being detected in our bodies. Besides the chemicals which can devastate our health, we don't yet know the impact of what it means to have these microplastics in our bodies and in our ecosystem. So of course, here at Troy, we're a riverfront community, and that means what we pollute can end up and likely will end up in the ocean. Additionally, society's reliance on plastics is a contributing factor to climate change, and I believe many are aware we are in the midst of a climate crisis. If we do not act in the next decade, we will see the worst impacts of climate change. Over 99% of plastics are sourced from fossil fuels. The industry sees this as the future of their industry. So the need to reduce and eliminate all single-use plastics is clear, which is why it's so common sense to move forward with the policy before you today. Plastic straws, many see them as a little thing, but they actually are a big thing. Because they're so small, they are not easily recycled, and they actually end up causing harm when they're put in municipal recycling bins. Plastic straws and stirrers are also commonly found as litter. They were the 7th most commonly found item during the 2017 coastal cleanup. And as I stated earlier, because plastic breaks down the environment, straws do break down the environment into microplastic. What's great about this legislation is, of course, there are people who do need straws, so this would be upon request, so people would simply have to ask for a straw if they need one, but it would discourage those who don't from using them and requesting them. Polystyrene has
Council
been,
member, I see you're videotaping. Do you want to maybe get proof?
No.
Are you good with that? I don't know if it's appropriate for a council
There's
member
also
to,
a
right,
video
but
camera right
we're
there.
on YouTube. Want to just
No.
leave that?
it's.
Are you okay?
This is-
Are you okay
this
with
is-
it?
I'm
Okay.
fine with this.
Okay.
Polystyrene has been a common discussion item today, and people are aware it's ubiquitous. It is often found everywhere in waterways once it's there because it is lightweight and it floats. Industry is saying because of this lightweight nature, that's what actually makes it so great and environmentally friendly. But at the same time, it is lasting in our environment, and it's because of that lightweight nature. It ends up blowing away when people try to do the right thing and throw it out, or mistakenly think it can be recycled, which, as others have already addressed, it really can't. It's too costly for most municipalities to do so. So it ends up in our waterways. So the best way to address polystyrene is to just eliminate it, which many are doing. And the last piece of this, of course, is adding a fee on paper bags. This is a common sense move that should have been done at a statewide level, so it's very important that municipalities and counties address this. As it's been mentioned, unfortunately, by industry today, paper does have some negative environmental consequences. It consumes a lot of water produced. It is energy intensive to transport, and consequently, paper bags are not better for the environment. So we should have a fee to discourage use and encourage people to use reusable bags.
Liz,
yes,
we're almost at the 5 minute. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So fees have worked elsewhere in California, and people have adjusted. So in conclusion, I urge you not to buy into industry arguments today. Recycling will not solve our crisis, and education will not solve this crisis. These are long-time industry tactics to blame individual consumers for what is a systemic problem. This is something that they've been employing since 1969 through the Keep America Beautiful campaign by putting guilt on individual consumers. Individual action will only go so far. We have to address this systemically. The city of Troy should join the number of municipalities in New York State, like East Hampton, Newcastle, Rye, Southampton, Albany County, New York City, Ulster County, Nassau, Suffolk, and numerous others in doing this to encourage the rest of the state to do so. So thank you all.
Thank you, Liz.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
My name is Messiah. I'm from 24 Grace Court, Georgia.
If we could let
I
Messiah
love the planet, but I love life
Hold
more.
on, Messiah, if I could ask.
We would
the
like,
folks
we
to
would
sit
like
down.
the city
Messiah,
council
can you ask
to
Messiah?
speak truth about the cover-up. We want to know everything about the cover-up. It was supposed to be an open forum yesterday, and it turned into a closed-door meeting. We want to know what do you uncover? And if in fact that you saw what we know is the truth, we want to know what's the next step. Is anyone going to be held accountable for their actions? Starting with the mayor, chief of police, Tedesco, and all who was complicit in covering up the murder. That's what we want. I love the planet, but I love life more. And unfortunately, I am the person that's being targeted. I'm the person that's being targeted. So therefore, I would like to know, what did you uncover? I want to know the truth. Exit Devin's mom wants to know the truth. She wants the truth to be known. She wanted out. I want it out. Stop with the cover-up. We continue to cover up a murder. Not only a murder, but we allow him to still to roam the streets. Today he was in action. Him and his goon squad was in action attacking young children. They slammed one to the ground and bust his head open. And then the charge was, I think it was trespassing, sitting on a step. And for that, they pretty much harassed the children. They harassed the children. And they claimed they were doing good work. And Sergeant French was heading this here task force. He was I took pictures of him. And he tried to act as though he was a good guy. A good man doesn't commit a murder.
Come on.
And I want him held accountable. I want him removed. The city wants him removed. The city wants him removed. What is the next step? Island needs to be removed as well. They're bad cops. Remove the bad cops. Remove the bad cops.
No swearing.
We want it done today.
Go ahead, Ms. Sally.
We want it done today. This is what we want as a community. We have him still harassing our babies in the community. They were charged with trespassing. Then he didn't even have a warrant for this person's house. And they slammed the teenager's baby sister to the ground.
Wow.
She's 12 years old.
Yeah.
This is how our police act and get away with it. We want proper policing. And those that act improper, we want them gone. We want them removed. So I ask again, what did you find? The meeting was supposed to be open to the public. It became a closed meeting. Now, what did you find? And if you, in fact, found truth, then act accordingly. Act accordingly. As I said yesterday, I felt as though this city stole 10 years of my life. And now I see that the laws that apply to me don't apply to everybody. It's something wrong with that. And it's not only happening in Troy, it's happening across America. We are the targets. People look like me in particular. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to be 2 Troys or 1 Troy? That's what I'm asking. I'm asking the council to take action. Hold the mayor accountable.
Yes.
That's right. All of them.
Hold DA Aberlove accountable. Hold Mr. Tedesco, that's retired now and received his pension, accountable. Hold Officer Dean accountable. These are just some of them. And I also know that the city of Troy attorney, he's complicit in covering up the murder as well. He's complicit in covering up the murder as well. He's a part of that crew. So he needs to be held accountable too. I went to go get a form to file a complaint from him. Before I received the form, he had already informed the police officers that he was giving it to me. So where did my complaint go? Nowhere. Nowhere. Hold the people accountable as you held me accountable. And I was a drug addict. I went to prison for 10 years and I was a drug addict. Not a dealer, an addict. Nobody cared about me. Nobody gave me treatment. I had to lick it myself. I had to lick my own wounds. It wasn't a health care emergency. It was none of those things. I went to prison. Now, the laws don't apply to everyone. We have a real problem in Troy. And my thing is, if the laws don't only apply to us, they have to stay out of our neighborhoods. I can't allow them to harass my babies. All of them are my babies. I don't know about how anyone else feels. All of them are my babies. I won't allow them to do what they did to me to these babies. I won't allow them to steal their lives. So I ask again, what are we going to do? Are we going to hold them accountable? Cameras are good, but cameras, as Anastasia stated, we look at cameras and some people turn a blind eye to what they see. And all those that turn a blind eye are complicit in covering up the murder.
Yes.
They're complicit.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Thank you. Thank you.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace. We have, Anastasia, we have a couple people before you.
Let her speak.
Let her speak. Let her speak. Let her speak.
Anastasia, go ahead. There are some folks, just so you know, who also want to speak. Thank you.
Other people are not here to speak. Let's let her speak.
Recently, the mayor met with the NAACP, and they found him to be cold, distant, and disinterested, and not willing to do anything on behalf of the people of the city, or especially the people of color. We find him to be complicit in covering up the Devin murder. We find it that you should be insulted as the council that he never came forward with the necessary report to provide you guys with the information that you need, inhibiting your job, which is supposed to be to stand for justice for everybody in this city. We find it insulting that from the mayor all the way down, these people are complicit and insistent that they're going to continue to hide this murder.
And an attempted murder on my baby. And
Yes.
I want justice for that. For Dominic McDonald.
We have mothers here, Essence Devon's mother in particular, and other mothers here, who have to suffer not only the loss of their child, but also have to live with the fact that the city is complicit in covering up a murder.
And this officer still walking the street.
It's an injustice to everybody in this room and outside of this room. We live in a city that is divided itself. We don't need extra cameras. We don't need extra laws. What you need is people who believe in humanity, who look in their hearts and know what's right and what's wrong and act accordingly. Not according to your party, not according to your personal interests, but according to what is right and the will of God and the will of the people. You are not the only elected officials who don't seem to be doing their jobs. If you want to take on these type of issues that come in our city, that are created within the city, stop looking at your everyday person walking the street. You need to look at who's in charge. Things happen because policies, written and unwritten, are enacted. You have the police department that believes that when they come on this job, that they walked into the jungle and it's down to take down whoever you can. They're not coming here to serve. Today we saw a bunch of cadets come in, and that's a wonderful thing. I didn't see one of them that looked nowhere near look like me. I don't even know if they even look like other people of color in this city.
Nope.
How can that be? I've got one black councilwoman sitting here who, by default, ended up in this position because of her racist behavior of an ex-councilman. But the council don't look like me. Come on.
That'll fix it.
We try to be polite and we try to wait, and we know that the city, you have a job to do, and we attempt to allow you to do your jobs. But at the same time, the voice of the people should not and will never be shut down because we want to drag the meeting out, because we don't really want to hear from what you have to say. We really don't care what you have to say. And it's kind of obvious when nothing is done at any level to address the wrongs of this city. Yes, you got the report late, but have you come out and said what you found in the report? Have you come out and said, First of all, no, none of you even came out and said you insulted that the man didn't even bother to consult with you. How disheartening is that?
I'll correct that. I was very vocal.
My apologies.
No, we were
to you.
very vocal, and at the
so
end of the
were
day,
a couple others.
I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but at the end of the day, we did not get to read the report.
No, I
And at another end of the day, I'm the only Black female that's sitting on this council. So the thing that you're saying, I want to make sure y'all make it aware to the people that don't understand. I have 3 Black sons. I have 3 Black brothers. So I get exactly where you're coming from. So I want to make that very clear. This is why I mentioned yesterday about the city of Troy. We need to become a community that is trauma informed. It's not always about the cameras. It's not. But if you don't see things from a different lens, you are not going to get it. So I think everybody, we all need to be aware of that.
Thank you, Councilman.
I thank you for saying that, and I know that there's a sharp circle around your desk that they're not pleased with you saying that.
I don't have no problem with speaking my mind.
And so therefore, I do appreciate what you're saying. But like I said,
We support her.
there
Just so
are-
you know,
there
we
are-
support.
there are more than 300 pages of reports indicating that this
Councilmember,
woman is alive.
Yeah. Anastasia, can you start just wrapping it up, please?
No, that's fine.
Thank
No,
you.
we have been advocating for a police review board. Okay? The mayor told us that, he said in the meeting with the NAACP leadership that he requested that they provide names for the police review board. So it's not being completely ignored. It is important to all of us. There are extra existential matters that are pressuring all of us. We all care. This is one community. We all want a police review board. We personally, as council members, we don't have the power to appoint the police review board.
Yeah, I understand.
But if anybody wants to submit names for the police review board, we'll accept them. If you guys want to put policies in place that the police review board can work towards, because it'll be in place soon.
All right, there's only one
We
problem
can.
with that, and I'm not trying to be rude. There's one problem with that. The mayor has the final say on who sits on this police review
That's
board.
correct.
I think that needs to be taken out of his hand, considering how complicit he is in all the things that are going on in this city. Okay? So, if I put my name or any of these people's name forward, none of them are gonna make it onto a civilian review board. And if he does put one together, it will be without subpoena power, because he does not want to be investigated, and it is the only board that actually has the power to actually do it. Now, if the mayor is complicit in what is wrong with this city, then it has no right to be the only power that appoints anybody to anybody's board. In fact, he needs to step down and pull himself out of this race for the next mayoral election, because it's not right what's happening here. And I'm gonna tell you something, we're not going away. And if I have to stand here and interrupt every meeting that goes forth, so be it. Because you're gonna get it right, you're gonna serve the people of this city, and you're gonna make sure that these people, these officers, are doing their job, which is served. I know what the law is, and I understand exactly how it's supposed to be enforced. But I also understand that when you have captains and chiefs and so forth and on, whose mental attitude sets about a paradigm that sends it out, that sends their men out into the streets to hunt down people, there's something wrong. And it ain't the law, it's the people. It's the heart of the matter, and it's the head of everything. And if you don't fix it, you're gonna have a problem. Not only will we not re-elect you, and don't think that we will sit back and let this ride, we will make sure that you are disrupted, interrupted at everything that you do. Because if I hear there's a meeting, I'm showing up.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you.
No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
Excuse me.
I'm Daniel I'm going to read our demands. Mayor Madden,
Can you
end
please
the
state your
cover-up.
name and address?
Daniel Morrissey,
Please work with
167
us.
Hutton Street, 12180.
Thank you.
Mayor Madden, end the cover-up, release the taxpayer-funded report, resign and withdraw from the election. The Troy Police Department, fire Randall French, end the cover-up, and drastically change your procedures. Rensselaer County District Attorney Donnelly, prosecute those responsible for the cover-up, reopen old cases where French's testimony was crucial, and rehash all of it. Troy City Council, this is you. Investigate the cover-up.
Listen to these words. Investigate the cover-up. Establish a civilian police review board with community representation and subpoena power. Do all that is in your power to do those things, and we will help you find the future that we all need together. Thank you.
Thank you, very well said.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
I know we're running short on time, but family, can I just ask for a few seconds? I was involved.
Absolutely. What's your name and address?
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is John Larkins. I used to be a former resident of Troy. However, I did move because something that happened with these officers. Specifically, Dominic Comital, Justin Ash, and Martin Furchiniti. Two of these cops were found guilty for excessive force in federal court. It took them 4 years to get there. And they're still on the force. Comital, he's having a little battles because apparently he beats up people on baseball fields as well. He hides cell phones. He destroys evidence. Puts people's teeth through their face. He don't care. He worked on air conditioners before y'all gave him a badge and gun. And this is the man that patrols our streets, and he's still out there after he's already guilty. How can you explain that? Because we go through your process.
He's not on the force anymore.
All right, Justin Ash? Martin
No,
Furchiniti.
I was saying Comital.
Yeah, Comital, he's going through some stuff right now, but it did get thrown out by a judge recently.
He retired.
Yeah, he retired from his time force. He's trying to get back on the force. But I swear to God, on my name, I will do everything to keep that man from assaulting another black brother like me, or sister, or a member of my community. Because for that fact, it don't come down to color. We are working class people, and we pay our taxes, and we deserve our dues. Keep us safe. Don't burn. Right, and I just want to say, for the people who are on the board who are actually doing stuff, we do appreciate you. We do appreciate you, but we are going to hold you accountable. And it's not just Troy. Don't feel bad. It ain't just Troy. It's Darrell Mountain, Saratoga Springs. It's Dontre Hamilton in Albany, New York. It's all of them. It's DJ Henry, which eerily reminds me of this case. The cop jumped on his car, shot him, and pretended like he was a hero for saving his own life and the life of community members that may have blah, blah, blah. We know the blue line or the whole spew. This man is a murderer. Let's call it what it is. We don't want him just to get fired. That is the very least we are calling for. He needs not even fired. To certify him. He does not need to have a badge and gun. He's certified. He can't work nowhere else in New York. No, you're done. That privilege is revoked. And us as a community, we should have that right and that authority. And not only that, how much longer does it take? It took me 4 years. I feel so bad for this lady because I know what's waiting for her. A bunch of wolves dressed in sheep's clothing. I took this to federal court, for God's sakes. What more do we have to do? How many more lives do we have to lose? Why can't I go home after working my hard job? Or actually my second or my third job, and just feel safe. I have to leave here. They had a huddle out, so I gotta leave here knowing that y'all can't protect me. I can't call the police. I was saving somebody's life when they taser me in the head for 21 seconds. The video cameras, the tapes, it happened in the emergency room. I had a broken leg, for God's sakes. None of this evidence came out in court. Sister, they ain't gonna let you talk. They're gonna build their own narrative. And I mean, y'all gotta help us or else we're gonna find somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you.
No peace, no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Screws out.
No justice, no peace. No killer, no peace. No justice, no peace. No killer, no peace. No justice, no peace. No killer, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice.
Front door is locked. Mara? Is there a number we can call downstairs? The front door is locked. All right, we'll just give it another 30 seconds. All right, we have Drea Lanza on the list to speak. Drea? Thank you for your patience.
Okay, my name is Drea Lanza. I live at 2227 Fifth Avenue here in Troy. The first thing I want to say is that I do support the Edson Thevenin protesters, even though I'm here to speak on ordinance 73 for tonight. And I appreciate their coming up and making their views known. First of all, I want to say that I've spoken in front of this august body many times. I do have petitions that we have been collecting for a while, both originally just for the styrofoam ban and now for the three-pronged plastic ban. And so there are over 1,400 signatures, and I will leave that on the clerk's desk there. I wanted to mention that there are a number of businesses that are supporting this. Nighthawks, Chom's Cafe, Underground Alchemy, Brown's Brewing, Garden Baker, Bolson, Sun Hees, many of the ones at the farmer's market, to name a few. There are many businesses that have already suspended using or never started using styrofoam and that are cutting back on all sorts of plastic usage, et cetera, especially the single-use plastic. So there is support in the business community for that. I also have show and tell. This, sometimes when we get into these discussions, they seem to be, oh, that's something far away. It has to do with, the ocean out in the Pacific or something like that. Well, in 2 short walks around Troy, like 2 20-minute walks, this is what I came up with. Just finding stuff along the side of the road. I didn't like rummage through garbage bins or anything like that. These were either in my yard or that had blown across from down the street or in the street or on the sidewalk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plastic bags. And I gotta tell you, I didn't pick up every single plastic bag. It was pretty skanky. And I didn't have gloves on. So these were just the ones that were kind of handleable. Styrofoam cups. There were, let me see, I counted these. There were 10 styrofoam cups, some of them in quite a state of falling apart, as you can see from these here. They had been run over, etc. They've been around for a while. That's the thing about this plastic stuff. It lasts a long time. It hangs around for a long time. If a paper cup had been run over by a car in the middle of the street, it wouldn't still be hanging around months later. It would have disintegrated by now.
Drea, I don't mean to interrupt. Are we okay out there, Monica? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I was actually surprised about this one. 12 plastic straws. I didn't expect to find this many plastic straws, but I came across 12 plastic straws just walking down the street. And 10 styrofoam plates, again, in various stages of disrepair, and some still with ketchup on them and other mucky stuff. Okay, and 4 styrofoam containers. Okay, so this is just 2 days. just scrolling around Troy. So it's not something that's far away. It's something that we deal with. This stuff clogs our storm drains. It looks like junk. It makes our neighborhoods look junky. This is not something far away. This is what we have right here, right now, that we're dealing with. And it affects how people look at our city. Notice I brought in paper bag. How people feel about our city and how people are willing to keep their city clean and, what people feel about in terms of if you live in a place that's full of garbage, your behavior reflects that. And your attitudes reflect that. And I think we're better than that. Okay, one more comment. The industry rep.
Freya, I apologize if you could. wrap it up.
I said one more comment.
Thank you.
The industry rep, who I don't know if any of them actually were Troy residents, but the industry rep offers a few untested, unproved ideas. I'm wondering why they waited so long. Where were they when the garbage has been accumulating for the past 20, 30 years? If they were really so concerned about the community, so the only time that they're concerned is when they may not be selling their products here. But where were they when the garbage was accumulating? Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rafael Varela. Okay, thank you. Chris Bellarano. Okay. Lawrence Quinn. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak on any item? Judith, I know you want to wait. Jessica? Hi there.
How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
In regards to 73, I would hope that that it is voted on. We need to keep our city as clean as possible. We need to do everything within our power. I have 5 beautiful granddaughters. The world that will be left behind is a bad place. Now, my grandbabies were born in this city. I was born at a time when people could swim the Hudson. My grandchildren will never swim the Hudson. It will be a miracle if there will be a Hudson. Please take into consideration that we need to start somewhere. And this is a start. It's our city. And we need to look at our future and the future of our children. Please let us do that. I know that we're not on Edson Feminine, but I must say, this is a horrible tragedy. And it's something that is not going to go away. It's a tough decision that needs to be made. But Officer Prince should not be on the street. It only opens wounds that the city as a whole has suffered. His mother, his wife, his 2 children. He was one of us. When I say one of us, he was one of us as a human being. A father that loved playing with his children. A son that was loved by his mother. A husband that was loved by his wife. He was one of us as a human being. And your political situation is delicate. I understand that. The fact of the matter is, the police department rose up, our police department rose up, spoke truth. And they've been kicked in the face. You cannot allow that to happen. Our police department now is under attack by us, by our own government. That makes absolutely no sense. They've stated Officer French lied. That is all you need to sit his bottom down and take that gun away so that there will not be any more victims. I do not know anything about what was alleged on tonight. I pray God that did not happen. But if he were involved, we're only creating a situation that does not have to be. We need to be very sensitive to our community. We need to have Officer French taken and sat down. I don't care if you pay him or don't pay him. Just take him off the street, put him in the office somewhere. But get him off the street, please. For all of our sakes, this is not healthy. It should not be happening. And his presence is only making the situation worse. There will not be justice in the courts in this civil case. The justice is not going to come until he is tried for the lies that he told under oath, and the killing of this father, son, and husband is resolved. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Thanks. I know, it's broke. Would anyone else like to speak? Sure. As soon as Laura's done, okay? Thank you.
Can you hear me?
No, the mic. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Good? Yep.
All right. I stand here in solidarity with my neighbors, in support of Ms. Thevenin. I think as Jessica Ashley alluded to, these matters are intersectional, right? I came here initially to speak about the Plastic-Free Hudson River Act, and I will speak on that momentarily. But when we think about the civil injustices that our neighbors just spoke to, and the environmental injustices at play with this legislation, we have to recognize their undue influences on our communities, and particularly on our communities of color. That said, I'm here to speak in favor of the Plastic-Free Hudson River Act. This measure works to reduce the negative impacts of plastics in our waste stream, and it is long overdue. I'll be brief, as I spoke on this at the last meeting where there was a significant show of support from the residents of Troy, and where you heard the same falsehoods that you heard tonight repeated by industry lobbyists. When we know, and we have heard here, that polystyrene is not practically or economically recyclable. As some of you know, my background is in environmental policy, primarily at the state level. Numerous other municipalities and counties across the state have already put in place similar laws. Once more, many of our local businesses, as we've heard, have already implemented some of its tenets. Not reducing our plastic waste will only serve to further the externalized costs of plastics at present the industry represented here profits from, at the expense of our communities. These include negative environmental, public health, and economic impacts in our community through litter and tipping fees that we all have to pay out of our wallets or out of the health of our families. They also include the externalized impacts on local workers and communities where plastics are produced and unfortunately often landfilled, and as well as the broader global impacts related to the role of plastics in climate change. It is on that basis that I urge you to vote with the residents that you represent here tonight in favor of the Plastic-Free Hudson River Act and not with those outside industry representatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Hi there, we have a gentleman over here. Hello.
At 11 o'clock.
Good evening, my name is Christian Grabascos, 42nd Avenue. In regards to the police murder of Hudson Thevenin, basically would just echo what Jessica and Laura said. Can't say it better. But I think the city government and the police force has some soul searching to do. In regards to the Plastics-Free Hudson Act, I'm in complete support of it. I think it's unfortunately just a drop in the bucket of, in terms of the sweeping changes that are necessary in society to keep the earth inhabitable. Okay, that's what this is about. This is like the earth is becoming inhabitable because of many reasons, but a lot of it is petrochemical pollution. Currently, we are in an energy descent, meaning we can see that the end of our supply of non-renewable energy sources, such as petroleum-based plastics, they're coming to an end. So that means we should choose wisely on how we use the remaining quantities if we're going to use them, or switch to non-renewable or switch to renewable energy sources very quickly. The single-use plastic and styrofoam ban would be a great starting point to letting the polluting industries know that their products are useless. Why are they useless? Because they contribute to the loss of biodiversity through their pollution. Okay, this impacts human health extremely negatively, and the true cost of such a malignant supply chain that results in the pollution of our collective life support system. Okay, if you've ever had anybody in the hospital on life support, that's what the earth, the biosphere provides for us, and it is in peril. The saying that comes to mind is the Hippocrates quote when he was talking about really bad diseases. Drastic times call for drastic measures. So if it seems extreme, we should probably do it for the sake of the future generations.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. Hi there.
Hi, my name
If you could use the mic, sorry, thank you.
My name is Wayne Foy, 6th Avenue, Troy, Lansingburg. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but after hearing that, just really tangible. Where I live, the neighbours all walk back from all the little shops with the bag with the soda in it, little black bag. They pull out the soda, throw the bag in the ground, and then drink the soda. We're talking about something very tangible here. I know they will be upset on losing the bags, just like people were upset when they couldn't smoke inside of restaurants and bars, saying that everyone will shut down now because if you can't smoke inside a bar or in a restaurant, people won't put up with it. We've got to change culture. It's up to you guys to help us change that culture. You'll get pushback, a little bit of pushback, but now everyone's happy that that happened. Be the people, be the leaders to start little things, start to bigger things. People laughed about straws. That lady picked up 20 straws in the streets. Suddenly you don't see straws in the street anymore. They're the little things that start to be the big things. So it's up to you guys to be leaders, okay? And don't be scared to be leaders. So I'd appreciate if you do that. And also to get French off the street because it's bad to have a murder on the street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Would anyone else like to speak on any item on the agenda? You probably won't be last, but
I wanted to go after Troy residents. Good evening. My name is Judith Ank. I teach classes on plastic pollution at Bennington College. I served as regional administrator for the Environmental Protection Agency appointed by President Obama. I served for 7 years, and I've been volunteering a little bit of time with the Troy Zero Waste group, providing technical support. I do want to say that I'm so grateful and impressed with all of the residents of Troy who testified tonight, made really good points. Incredibly grateful for everyone who voted in support of the Plastic-Free Hudson River Act, which I really hope you will adopt tonight. And I just want to spend a little time addressing the comments made by the American Chemistry Council, DART, and the gentleman, I'm sorry, didn't get his name, the guy with the bag and
Yeah, Brad.
the magic show thing.
He actually, I think, was not too bad.
Okay, so, so you all have a really hard job, as I saw tonight, and I've seen at other meetings, and the hour is late. These industry representatives really did a disservice to all of you, and I think it was proper for Councilmember Kennedy to ask the DART representative to withdraw the comments that the other DART lobbyist made at the last committee meeting. What they said tonight is completely inaccurate. Polystyrene is made from styrene, a probable human carcinogen. That wasn't touched on. They did say it was recyclable. Well, about 0.00001% of polystyrene is actually recyclable. And when DART sued the city of New York after New York City adopted a polystyrene ban, they lost in court because technical experts rebutted what DART said, yet they still go to public settings and repeat it. We can't solve the climate change crisis without addressing plastic pollution. You sit here tonight, there are hurricanes battering different parts of the world. The Amazon rainforest is literally on fire. Both of those things are related to climate change. And I say that plastic is a climate change issue because plastic is made by ethane, a byproduct of hydrofracking, and chemicals. The plastic production and use grows as is currently planned. By 2030, the emissions will be the equivalent of about 295 new coal-fired power plants. So earlier this evening, you heard the excellent presentation on community choice aggregation, which I strongly support. Troy should offer that to residents. It'll support renewable energy and energy efficiency. That also will save people money on their utility bill. But what's happening in the plastics industry is they see that they're losing their market on electricity generation and in transportation. And so they think the replacement is to make more plastic. And what that means for Troy is more litter. Everything that Drea Leonza brought up, none of that is recyclable. None of those straws, none of the polystyrene, and it's a myth that you can even recycle the plastic bags. Plastic across the board only has about a 9% recycling rate for the last 30 years. So I don't think they gave you accurate information. There are scientific papers on this, and I want to call on unanimous passage of this bill tonight compared to all of the issues you're dealing with. This one is easy. This will make Troy cleaner. This will protect the Hudson River. This is a tiny thing you can do to address climate change and make sure that we're not continuing to put probable human carcinogens, styrene, into food products. So I look forward to what I hope will be a unanimous vote tonight, because I think it sends a strong message that Troy is serious about health protection, clean neighborhoods, and protecting the residents of Troy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. She's a pro. Judith, Anash pointed to me that you hit the 5-minute mark perfectly. I said, she's a pro. She's a pro. I know that. Anyone else like to speak, please? Absolutely not. No, I'm kidding. Come on now.
You got 30 seconds.
Light humor. I'm kidding, please.
30 seconds.
You're probably gonna regret this anyway now.
No.
President. Yeah, you probably will. As a Green Party member, and you're running on the Green Line, I'd assume you would vote for this. If you don't, then don't be on the Green Line. That's that simple. You need to support the Green Line. If you run on the Green Line, please support our
Duly noted, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I told you I warned you.
You know what, sir? You're the least of my worries, okay? I have 2 young boys. All right, anyone else out there? Yes, ma'am. Let's keep it going. Come on, where's Jada when I need her?
Hi, my name is Pat Kumel. Temporarily, I'm at 718 in Rensselaers, and I have property on 552 Washington Street. So,
okay.
So, one of the things that comes to mind, being an old person, I remember way back when the tobacco industry was saying that the tobacco is not a carcinogen. It's okay for you, and we're gonna, in the future, look back at what we're doing tonight. And I feel you're gonna be heroes in what you're doing to save people. Because I was a little bit upset when I saw that people from way out of town, corporate people, were coming and telling our city what to do. And I kind of don't appreciate that. But I really shouldn't say much about something far away, because I'm going to say something very brief about something far away in Washington State. What's happening is there are a lot of whales that are dying, and they're on the beaches. So what's happening is there's not enough room on the beaches there, public beaches, for them to go and die. So what they're doing is asking private residents to provide room for the whales to go and die. The reason they're dying is because they're malnourished. And the reason they're malnourished is because their stomachs are full of plastic. What do you think is in ours? What do you think is in our bodies? Plastic is found in every person's body, not only bodies that are close to where it's used, but in the farthest reaches of the globe, indigenous people who have never seen it. It's in their bodies as well. Begin right now, and we have to stop it. We have to go a lot farther than we're going now, but this is a perfect start. And go tonight, please vote yes. And also, it was so moving with the folks who came in to support Edson Evident. So I'm behind the group as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak on anything on the agenda? All right, I see a couple people. Okay. The public forum section is closed, and are you guys okay going right into this, or do you need a restroom?
Let's go.
Do you need a restroom?
No, just go.
Councilmember Kennedy, we still have a quorum? Oh, you're good? All right.
Describe it on the
Very
agenda.
good. We're gonna go right into local laws, local law 3.
I know it's late.
Councilmember,
We are
I
on a
honestly,
tight timeline here.
Councilmember Cummings
So I'm
wants
asking for
to,
unanimous consent on this resolution.
I'm not going to do that. I'd like to go through the normal process.
Right.
We're here at 9:20. We haven't even looked at the resolution. I would just ask that go through committee. If we need a special
Can we have a commitment
meeting,
to
I'd be
schedule a
happy
special
to
meeting?
do so, okay?
Yeah,
All
sorry,
right.
everyone, I know it's tight, I just finished this literally
Just,
a couple hours ago.
and I
Trying to get
promise, put it through the
local-
process.
The other floor, we hear what you say?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Just, so the point of this resolution is to continue our support for having an early voting location in Troy. Something we've been supporting for months and pushing for. Unfortunately, last night, the Rensselaer County Legislature refused to move their similar matching legislation forward. And so this one actually just withdraws our contingency on our funding and offers to fund it fully. Because it is critically important for our residents to have access to the polls. As it is right now, it would cost residents thousands of dollars to go and vote early. If you count the number of hours it would take to commute half an hour to 40 minutes to the nearest one by car, or a couple hours back and forth by bus. So I do think it's critically important that we have an early voting location in Troy. If we don't have unanimous, I just ask for unanimous consent to consider this, but if we don't have it, I'd ask for a finance meeting, for a special meeting. Because again, this is very, very timely. Obviously, the election's coming on us quickly, and I want to make sure we get this on the record that we're all in support of having an early voting location here and doing everything we can to make sure that happens.
Thanks, council member. I'd be happy to put it on the finance next week.
Why we gotta wait till next
Council
week?
President, can we at least get a copy of it to look at ahead
Yeah,
of time?
I mean, we happy
Maybe
to look
if
at
you get
it.
a
We'll
chance
just
to
Yeah,
look
but
at
we,
it.
during the
the
meeting.
idea
You
of
can take
the,
a vote.
the idea of us having the extra voting location was to also to support District 2.
Right.
So I find it real funny that we can wait till next week. Why can't we vote on it now?
Because-
Why can't we do that now?
A, we're not gonna throw a resolution in the last minute where we don't even know
You
where
throw
the
stuff
other
on the
money.
last minute all the time. You always
This
throw
is
stuff up in the air.
funding, council member. This is
Okay,
funding.
but you guys fund other stuff that's not
So we
important
do
to me,
have
but
we
this
do
is
have
important to
another
me.
item on the agenda tonight to accept hundreds of thousands of dollars of new funding from property sales. I think that there's obviously there's funding
Still, you
available.
need an item to transfer the money. Honestly, what I would like to see is the county, as we initially proposed, to match the funding. Clearly,
I would prefer that.
I
Council
didn't
President.
even know. I have, please let me finish. I didn't know it didn't pass last night. I don't think any of us knew.
I didn't.
So let's just put it through the process, coming to us at 9:20 with a new resolution. All I'm asking, just put it through the process. We have a meeting next Thursday. We can call a special meeting and do it at that time. Okay?
2
That's
weeks
all
from
I'm
now, right?
asking. No, it's,
It'd be
it's
2 weeks.
2 weeks from tonight.
Right, so when
It
is
is
the,
still timely. We're in time.
Council President, there
Sure.
was a request for unanimous consent on this.
So, there was not a second. If you want a
I'll second
second, okay, slow roll. If we don't need a slow roll, I'll rescind my slow roll.
I would
All
like to
in
at least
favor?
see the
Right,
resolution.
all in favor?
Well,
Just, let's just do both. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you. Just put it through finance, please. All right, local law 3.
Local law to establish a sustainable energy loan program, Open Sea Pace, in the city of Troy. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Local law 3 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 71.
Ordinance amending the city code, chapter 148, electricians. Councilmember December, Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 71 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 72.
Ordinance amending the Troy City Code, Chapter 228, plumbers. Council President December, Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Oh, I'm
Your
sorry.
sponsor.
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
motion?
Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 72 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 73.
The Plastic-Free Hudson River Ordinance to amend the Troy City Code, Chapter 189. Councilmember December.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion? I want to say a couple things about this. And I know it's 9:20. I'll keep them brief, but obviously this is, something that's really near and dear to my heart. As all of you know, the Hudson River is a treasure. It's a national treasure for that matter. I had the pleasure to work with a lot of people, including Jude Thing, for several years protecting the Hudson River. So it would be kind of silly for me to vote against taking plastic out of the waste stream. As many folks know, I do have concerns with this legislation. I'm fearful that it's not enforceable, because we know that our code is having a tough time keeping up with the garbage and trash on the streets now. Also, businesses, I've spoken to various businesses, and the businesses felt they weren't included from the onset. Since the finance meeting, there has been an outreach to a couple of businesses, and we appreciate that. I appreciate that, but still, I would have liked a little more public meetings out there to hear some feedback from the businesses and maybe include some of the businesses' concerns in the legislation. And, a couple of things also in the legislation. The straws, obviously a lot of folks know, I have a special needs son, so please actually see that you have to request it. I am a little concerned because when I go through the drive-through, I sometimes forget the food. Which means I will sometimes forget to request the straw. And he needs a straw. So it's kind of simple. And the straw one, I'm not thrilled over that. So there's obviously things in this ordinance that concerns me. At the same time, the propaganda, she's against taking plastics out of the waste stream. That's not the case. I was hopeful that maybe the county would have stepped forward. I was hopeful that our 6 minority members that represent us here in the city of Troy would have, just like with the $7,500 in the early voting site here in the city of Troy, I have wished that they had also been vigorous in sponsoring this at the county level. So a couple things that I'd like to see in this before moving forward. I'd like to amend it. As we know, it's going to be implemented next year. What I'd like to see, give it a year, but I'd like us to have quarterly reports, the council, regarding this particular ordinance moving forward, how the enforcement's going to work. So once this is passed, because I know the votes are there, I would like quarterly reports regarding this. And if in a year we really aren't seeing that this is being enforced, we aren't seeing maybe that our code is incapable of handling this, or maybe during that time, the county steps up to the plate and the county actually makes a move to sponsor something like this. Saying that, we know that the state's moving in this direction. There's a reason the state, as they obviously implemented the plastic bag ban, they didn't put a ban on styrofoam for a reason. That concerns me because, but saying that, I think we're moving in that direction. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if next year or the year after it will be banned statewide, much like the plastic ban. So saying that, I am putting forward a motion for quarterly reporting to the council to find out who's going to enforce having the businesses put signs up if they're asking for a waiver, things to that nature. We had Monica, our deputy mayor, speak to us, and she informed us it's going to be a tough lift. But saying that, if this is going to pass, and it's a train that left the station, so saying that if it's going to pass, let's find ways to make it enforceable. I want to support this, but at the same time, it's got to be practical. So saying all of that, I'm putting forward a motion just for quarterly reporting. I will put it at the end with the implementation, the effective date, just to provide quarterly reports to the city council. And like I said, if in a year we're finding this, we're really having a tough time, et cetera, or really the health inspectors at the county need to enforce this, that needs to be looked at. So I'm putting a motion forward for quarterly reports.
Why did you wait until tonight to present this?
Because I've gotten a ton ton of input. I've spoken to friends colleagues that worked with on the state level,
All right, I heard
whether
it.
they be environmental, et cetera. Please, you ask the question, I'm going to answer it. Secondly, I have spoken to some businesses who actually are voluntarily doing this. For me, in order to move forward with this, we need at least some type of assurance that the enforcement is going to happen. So
Alright, I
for
was
me,
talking about timing. Why did you give it to us tonight at the meeting instead of prior to the meeting?
honestly, the residents tonight, I hate to say it, the petitions, listen, this is what it's about, being a public servant, much like Leonard Hospital. We're here to serve you. Saying that, over the last month, I've done my homework. Saying that for me tonight to support it. So I'm here thinking, what can I do to put something in this? So your answer is, I thought of it like in the last hour. I have
Council
a motion,
President.
yes.
I just have a question. Is there any reason why the council would not want to get an update and find out how we're progressing? Is there a reason why we wouldn't? If there is a reason why,
Well,
just
there's a motion.
tell me why.
So,
Council President.
do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a
So
motion,
now we can
second,
talk
now
about
on
it,
the
right?
discussion. Thank you.
So that, is there any reason why we wouldn't want to have that?
First,
report?
Councilmember Gully, if you could use the mic.
I'd just like to know from the council members if there's a reason why they don't think that that report quarterly would be helpful to us. I mean, information is always good. So I just want to know why it's such a hard thing to talk about, but if there's a reason, please let me know.
Council President.
Councilmember Cummings.
I totally agree that we should have ongoing oversight and role in that. It seems like that's a very normal role for a general services committee to hold a hearing on whenever they want to. I guess I'm not sure what the purpose of putting it in the legislation itself is. I don't have a strong objection to it, except that I haven't had the time to vet what that impact would be as I have for the rest of the
quarterly.
legislation. We did get a chance to talk to Wade Beltramo of the, get some correspondence from Wade Beltramo of the NICOM, New York Conference of Mayors, who assured us that it was fully enforceable as it is, as the law is written. And so certainly, I guess, I'm not sure what the purpose of the
Sure.
amendment is.
I could probably answer that. I know Wade really well, and Wade will give an opinion as to the legality of the law, if that law meets the requirements of enforcement, because there was a question, does Ag Markets oversee this? Do health inspectors have to? Can code enforcement actually legally enforce it? So Wade will weigh in on that. Wade will not weigh in on our workforce. Wade is not going to weigh in on, can our code enforcement officers actually handle this? What I'm saying is, we as a council, by putting it in the legislation, we have a motion and a second, they're quarterly reports. For me, it gives me assurance every quarter that we are going to sit with the appropriate administrative people and code enforcement and ensure that this is moving forward, and not all of a sudden March of 2020, when this goes into effect, oh gee, here we are, we don't have the signs, who's providing the signs, how's the waiver going to work? There is so much work that has to go into this before the implementation. So all I'm saying is, starting day one, this would happen, quarterly reports, and I want to be assured, if I'm going to support this, that it's moving in that direction, that's all. I mean, they're quarterly reports. We have a motion, a second. Can you do a slow roll, Lauren?
Well, Council President.
Oh, I'm sorry, further discussion?
I did get a couple of hands from administration officials on this. Certainly, as typically on these legislation, we do ask our corporation counsel to review all of the legislation.
No.
So I'd like your input on this, as I think
I
the deputy
am
mayor also.
only going to address the enforcement issue. I'm not going to address the other things that Council President said. I'm not taking a position on that. I am going to read for the City Council an email that was sent to Mayor Madden today at 4:19 p.m. Mayor Madigan, this is verbatim, it is enforceable now. Pursuant to municipal home rule, section 10, cities may make violations of their local laws subject to a civil penalty. Where section 189-5 provides for such a civil penalty. The city of Troy can enforce these plastic ban provisions by commencing an action in the city court. You would need the city's attorney or an outside counsel or a contract to litigate the case, but I don't believe the city needs to enact any other local law. Alternatively, to civil enforcement is imposing a fine which will be prosecuted in your local criminal court. There are pros and cons to civil court enforcement versus criminal court enforcement. Criminal court is designed to be a little bit more efficient. It really depends on how the city wants to structure its enforcement system. End of.
Perfect. Thank you, Jim.
And the mayor was invoked.
I don't think there was any question on the enforceability. I think it was the capacity. Maybe we have a mischoice of words. So the capacity was a concern. I had spoken to this, again, the Troy Zero Waste team. I'm all behind this legislation. My concern as operations is making sure that we can roll this out successfully. I take great offense from a city council-led initiative to put the backs of a quarterly report onto the administration. Let the sustainability committee take on that action. Work with Solid Waste Advisory Board. Work with all the environmental commissions. Work with those people to produce the reports. You think we have a capacity issue of code to be able to enforce the actions? Now you're asking them to conduct reports on a quarterly basis.
Just an update, Monica. I'm not asking for anything under the.
So why
It's an
don't we
update.
work?
I
So
want it
hold
in
on,
the
let her have the
list.
floor.
City Council President,
Point of
why
order.
don't we work on education and positive movement instead of working on negativity and enforcement all the time? I'm sorry, like I've been listening to everything tonight. We have got to start focusing on educating people and making positive movements and making positive conversations for our city. We are being hammered in our media right now. Make a positive change. Instead of talking about people who aren't going to be in compliance, let's talk about how we are going to get in compliance. Troy Zero Waste is like an ally. The Solid Waste Advisory Board, who's your legislative committee to handle this. They are ready to do education and outreach. So let's focus on all the districts at the large, and let's get out there and actually educate people and be a part of the solution instead of making us do more reports.
Council President.
Monica, I do appreciate that. Monica, I do appreciate that since you kind of singled me out. If you could also.
Point of order,
Monica,
please.
if you could also just ask your boss to provide us the appropriate reports also.
Council
Councilmember
President.
Garrett.
I just want to echo what Monica was saying. I have reached out to Renee, my own self, and any one of us can reach out to Renee, who's in charge of the recycling department, and set up some kind of education plans for your district. She's willing to come out and do that. So I agree with her. Asking them to do extra work is not fair. At the end of the day, you guys got voted into your seats to serve the community. So it is our due diligence to do that. And like I said, if you reach out to Renee, she's really open and welcome to help. So I think that we should follow the way of doing it.
The next Solid Waste Advisory Board meeting, and I expect you should go.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And just so it's extremely clear, nobody is asking for anything other than a quick update, and it holds this legislation accountable. By putting it in the legislation, quarterly updates, keep it accountable. I understand, it's fine.
Because it's like,
It's fine.
it's like
It's
extra.
an update.
I understand what you're
It's an
saying,
update.
but so I'm gonna be very frank right here. If we're gonna give an update on that, let's give an update to that lady, that mother that was just sitting here, wanting to know about the police department and wanting about, let's pick our battles, please.
I agree.
Let's pick our battles. If we
I
want to
agree.
report, then we want to report on everything. Come on now.
I agree.
You're doing a lot now.
And the public safety chair should hold a meeting to inform the public on an update of this case. That's what committees do. So that's what committees do.
Yeah, let's vote
There's
on
a
the amendment you came up with
motion,
5
there's
minutes
a
ago.
second. Would anyone else like to discuss the amendment? Okay. Councilmember Gully?
One question.
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be the administration that
Right.
gives us that report.
Right.
It can be our own legislative
It's
committee.
just a report. It's
Is
just
that
an
right?
update.
Is that
It's
true?
just an update. That's all.
right.
Nobody said
All right.
exactly. He asked me a question.
I have another question.
Councilmember Kennedy.
I have another
So
question, Council
let me
President.
please answer his question.
Come on, guys, it's
Answer-
getting late.
Seriously.
Let's pull this
in
together
answer
here.
to your question, Councilmember Kelly, it's an update. It doesn't have to be anything intense. It's a quarterly update, much like we have our financials. And for the record, that is in our charter. So we do institute and we pass legislation for quarterly updates for our financials and other areas. This is no more than that, putting it in the legislation, because guess what? Some of us might not be here after January. We want those people to have quarterly updates. They're gonna come in and they're gonna say, what? There's a styrofoam ban, et cetera. So this ensures the future. That's all.
Okay, Council President,
Councilmember.
can you volunteer to provide the update?
We have to get it from the administration or whoever is implementing it. I'd be happy to
Call the question.
quarterly, I'd be happy to have finance meetings, to have the quarterly updates. You know, I'm a very, very
or
open
no
person
question.
with lots of meetings. I'd be happy to sponsor a meeting, much like we integrated the Pauling app into the finance tonight, okay?
Okay.
I'd be happy to sponsor a finance meeting. Okay, further discussion? Okay, Mara, slow roll.
What are we voting on? You're amending.
Just the quarterly. On the amendment to provide quarterly updates to the city council, Councilmember Belli,
I think it's a smart idea, yes.
Councilmember Garrett,
No, thank you.
Councilmember Paratone.
No.
Councilmember Cummings,
I think we have plenty of oversight ability as it is. I'll vote no.
Councilmember Bissember,
No.
Councilmember Kennedy,
No.
Council President Mantello. Before my vote, you know,
Just vote.
no,
Let's go.
this is democracy. If you would like to leave, Councilmember Paratori.
No, I think you ought to really
Saying
pay
that,
attention to time in your meeting.
I find it very, very unfortunate that politics has entered into something that certainly, you know what? We listen to you. Please have respect. I find it very, very upsetting that the council does not want quarterly reports on a plastic-free ordinance that literally is supposedly groundbreaking and new, but yet we don't want to do our job by getting quarterly reports, by putting it into the legislation. I find it very political. I find it grandstanding, and I vote yes. The amendment fails, 2 ayes, 5 noes. All right, on the original ordinance,
Council President.
council member.
So, well, I'd first just like to thank all the residents for being here and showing your support. I do actually have a technical amendment to the,
Oh my God, an amendment? Okay.
to act. I have a technical amendment to the resolution in section 189-5 penalties. There is the, it says any
Can
food.
you say that section one more time? I
Yep.
just pulled it up.
Section 189-5 penalties.
Yep.
So the section, it doesn't include the correct section it's referencing with the exemption. So any food service establishment or covered stores to be found in violation of this provision with the exemption of section 189-3, that should be 189-4 as it's referencing the paper carryout section of the legislation. So this is a technical amendment.
Okay, the
It was-
second line.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it says 189-3, which is the incorrect section it should be referencing. It should be referencing 189-4.
I'm just reading
And while we're waiting on that, I do want to just include, the observations of our residents that, our plastics have a 9% recycling rate, that plastic straws are the 7th most commonly found litter in coastal cleanups. There is no interest at the county level, so we'll be waiting a long time if we wait for them. And this legislation includes a preemption for the county. So in other words, if the county decides to adopt a resolution or an ordinance, we would be preempted by that. So we've already included that into our ordinance. 15 million plastic bags per year in the city of Troy. This is not a small issue that we're talking about. It's a big issue. I thank our community residents for being here today to advocate on it. And I would hope that on this technical amendment, we can support it. This is just a technical amendment.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed?
The technical amendment passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, on the amended ordinance, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett, do I have a second?
Second,
Second, Councilmember Cummings, discussion.
Council President.
Councilmember Cummings.
I just wanted to speak briefly to the amazing outpouring we've seen today and over the last several years from residents of Troy coming out and saying this is something that they'd like to see. This petition is obviously speaks volumes. To date, as far as I've seen, we've had maybe 1 or 2 residents speak in opposition and 3 or 4 industry lobbyists speak in opposition, and a tremendous outpouring of support from our residents for this common sense measure to start the reduction of litter and of plastic waste in our bodies, in our food, and in our communities. And so I think it's as the one of the lobbyists mentioned that the markets should decide these kind of things. The markets, have been working on deciding this kind of thing, but at some point, there's a role for government when markets fail. And this is an instance when the market is failing because the styrofoam packaging in particular brings with it tremendous externalized costs that are not incorporated into the cost of the packaging. So while it may look cheap, it ends up costing us in all sorts of ways down the road. And so with that said, I'm in strong support of this resolution.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember.
I have a few words. One, I just want to clarify why I was recording one of the speakers tonight. I do believe that we are making history by passing this ordinance. And the person I was recording is one of the most brilliant woman in the state, in her field, working pretty much every day on our behalf. And to have her come here and put this amount of effort into her testimony was really moving for me. So I didn't appreciate you interrupting her and trying to embarrass me or what your attempt was in your statements at that time. But if our support for this measure doesn't come down to how it will impact our waste, I do think we can hang our hats on that will be preventing carcinogens from entering our residents by removing this from our consumer goods and our economy. So the carcinogens that styrofoams put into our bodies when we buy the food that the hot food is packaged in has an effect on us that we don't presently know the full impact. But I believe it is significant, and I believe, similar to what the residents said, this will be this historic moment when we look back. So I do thank everyone for their work on this. I'm very grateful for the support and openness, and I do look forward to working with the communities and all the other boards that support this and doing the outreach and education. Thanks.
Further discussion?
Council President, just briefly.
Councilmember.
I just wanted to also acknowledge and thank Councilmember Gully. We were working together on getting more businesses involved in the process. He had reached out to some Lansingburg businesses and brought them to the table to make sure that they had a voice in this process. We met this week, with some other folks from the city, including the recycling coordinator and the Troy Zero Waste Group. So again, we'll continue that work, and we have plenty of time to keep making sure we can find ways to collaborate on those pieces. But I did want to personally thank you for that as well, and I'll be voting yes.
I had a question, Councilmember December, on section 189-6, the reverse preemption. So if the county or the state does decide to implement the styrofoam ban, the paper bag fee, it's the ban also, because I thought that affected the paper, the nickel.
It's supposed to affect both. Or-
I believe, can you explain that part?
So yeah, to the nickel point, that's actually what the amendment I
That's-
was just working on was about. The penalty section of the bill, section 189-5 incorporates, I think, what you're alluding to
Right.
on the paper fee. So that is already covered in the penalty section, including the exemption of section 189-4 to the legislation will ensure that that's already covered because of the state paper bag fee.
But if the county decides to implement the nickel,
Right.
it says it will make ours null and void,
So-
but then they have, by resolution, go ahead.
Yeah, so
Yep.
there's a specific, so if the county were to incorporate that part, wait, I see Anasha looking like you want.
Well, you're the sponsor, I
Yeah.
asked you, you can
No, I
answer.
did, I mean,
Go
so,
ahead.
so
You're fine.
what we're looking at is with the exemption, with that section that I was just discussing, the state law includes a provision in section 27-2807 that states that there cannot be multiple fees. So our fee would actually be the provisional fee that is incorporated. It's based on the most local entity. In other words, if the county created their own ordinance, everything would be preempted, but the fee would be continued to maintain in the city of Troy, and that's based on the New York State law.
That's what I thought, but the wording says that the chapter shall be null and void. So basically what you're saying is that if the county or the state passes a styrofoam ban, that our law here is null and void? Because that's what it says. It says this chapter shall be null and void on the day that a county, if you look at 189.6 reverse preemption, honestly, I don't know what this means, but it says null and void on the day that a county or statewide law is in effect incorporating either the same or substantially similar provisions as are contained in this ordinance in the event that relevant county, et cetera, et cetera. And then it just talks about the Troy City Council should determine by resolution whether or not the identical or substantially similar county or statewide law are relevant. So you're saying two things though, that first it's null and void, but then by resolution, we're going to, it doesn't really make sense to me the way it's worded.
Council President?
And I'm really asking, it's saying it's null and void, but then it's changing it that the council can vote on that, yes.
Yeah, so I think the intent here is to make sure that it actually is substantially similar, but rather than having to pass a whole resolution again, it's automatic, assuming the council at the time agrees that it is substantially similar. So if the ordinance that is passed at the state or county level incorporates these same elements, then a council of the future could pass a resolution recognizing that and declare, and therefore this would automatically become void. I will say, I think you're right that there's some potential for a partial eclipsing of this resolution in that, especially because the state law as it's written does not allow the county level to put in the fee. It has to be done at the local level. And so I may suggest an amendment just to say any section of this chapter shall be null and void when something substantially similar is passed.
I think
Just
something
so that
like
only
that
the
would work.
styrofoam section, because that was
Yeah,
intended to cover the styrofoam section in particular.
Okay.
Council
And
President?
that's what was confusing me.
Can I just throw out a line there
Sure.
just in case? I know you have a great line there, but what if we just had it changed to shall be amended to match statewide or county future law or
Well,
future
we would have
legislation?
to.
Well, then it would have to go
We
through a
would.
whole.
But I mean, then it wouldn't be null and void. It would be amended to be adjusted. Just so you're not just blanking it out. You're given a chance to have it adjusted to whatever that law might bring.
Jim, quick question. If the state or the feds, not the county, but if they pass a ban, it would automatically make ours null and void, wouldn't it? Or no?
Well, no, and I really do think that
Just
Councilman.
keep my mic,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I really do think Councilman Cummings summed it up accurately. It's in effect until, and I would just suggest that where it says in the first line, on the day that a county, I should say county of Rensselaer
Okay.
or statewide, not just any county.
Right, that's actually, yeah.
All right, is in effect incorporating, so essentially, it stays in effect unless and until there is a statewide or countywide ban, and then you would look at, did that statewide or countywide ban, is it either the same or substantially similar provisions? And the second line gives the Troy City Council to determine whether or not that new law, whether it's state, county, or federal, is identical or substantially similar. So this does give you, in effect, the ability for the city of Detroit to actually be a little bit more stringent than a county, state, or federal regulation. That's what the intent of the council is. I think it sums it up, I really do.
Okay, so
To
two
the
amendments
sponsor.
being suggested. One is to add, replace this with any section of this chapter.
Where,
Or just add the word any section of at the
tell me what,
beginning of that.
exactly what you're saying there.
So, in section 189-6, reverse preemption.
First, yes.
Start that by saying any section of this chapter shall be null and void on the day.
Yes.
Already that Rensselaer County.
And I would also include the county of Rensselaer or Rensselaer County, yes, sir.
Okay, so those two amendments, adding the word Rensselaer and adding the word any section of.
And could I just add a third, in 189.7, include the county in the certified copies of the ordinance?
Great, yep.
Okay.
I think that's
I'm sorry, wait, say that one second.
In 189-7, include Rensselaer County as one of the ordinances get certified mail. We got
We're sending it to the state.
taxation, the
One
state,
of the,
et cetera.
one of the governmental entities that would get notice of what we're doing.
Right.
Yes.
Let them know they can preempt.
Can I also,
Okay.
can I make a suggestion? Can I suggest that the city clerk sends the certified copy of the ordinance and not the general services commissioner?
Where does
Because
it, oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yes.
no offense to Chuck, but he's not
Yeah.
allowed to certify.
And
ordinances.
quite frankly, yeah, he would not. I should have, well, that should have been clear.
Yes.
So
Good point.
Let-
My one power.
That's a
Mara,
very good point.
let's say section 189-7, within 5 days, the city clerk shall mail a certified copy, and if you could add Rensselaer County.
So then we can replace city clerk in the bottom part of that with Rensselaer County.
And by Rensselaer County, do you mean the county executive?
County,
legislature?
I would say both, send it.
Right now, you're getting a copy. shouldn't you?
Yeah,
Please.
and take yourself out. Okay,
You can send it to the general. services.
should we review this one more time?
Looks good.
I think, now, Mara, do you have it all?
I think so. Section 189-6, insert any section of, at the beginning of the first sentence. Replace a county with Rensselaer County. Section 189-7, the city clerk shall mail a certified copy, not to myself, but to the Rensselaer County Executive and the Rensselaer County Legislature, along with the other people listed, or organizations.
All right,
And-
we,
And,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
the penalty
Oh,
section.
yes,
uh,
the 189.
We did that.
We
This is
did
the
that.
current amendment.
We
Sorry.
did that.
Thank you.
Current amendment.
Okay.
It's okay, it's all right.
So whose amendment is this now? Nashi's?
My
Nobody
This will
knows.
be a Nasha's amendment.
One yay, one nay, so then we have a Nashi's?
I'll second Councilmember Cummings' amendment, discussion,
No.
all
No.
in favor?
Everyone.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. On the amended ordinance, I have one more, no, I'm kidding. Ordinance 73 on the amended ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Second, Councilmember Parrish.
10 o'clock, we've been here a long time.
Discussion, I just want to say, I am disappointed that the quarterly updates, however you want to call them, are not included in this, considering we're putting a lot on our departments on this. We really are. If you look through it, signage, I mean, there's a lot in this. So saying all of that, I am disappointed that the quarterly updates are not in it. So further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 73 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
This is Judith again, briefly, my colleague.
Yeah. Ordinance 74.
Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund and water fund budgets to allow funding of said capital project. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Paratori, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh.
Motion
Now
to
you're gonna
consider?
fly through stuff. So there's-
Absolutely.
And it's just a little
Yeah.
bit of, it's a technical thing, I just wanna let you know the account.
Oh.
The account numbers, under the revenues, this is for the Schedule A, number 74.
Okay.
It should be, I can't even read this anymore. It should be 00057310654, not 45.
Oh, okay,
So that
Under the revenues.
0654,
Yep.
all the way down through.
okay.
There's 4 changes.
I will make a motion, if you look under the capital projects fund, it says 0645. In the item, it is 0654. We'll make it all the way through. I made a motion.
Second.
Do we have a second? Councilmember December, discussion. All in favor on the
Aye.
motion? Aye. Opposed? On the amended ordinance 74, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ordinance 75.
Ordinance declaring certain city-owned property as surplus and directing the comptroller to dispose of said property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember December, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, Councilmember Kennedy, discussion. I know there's a couple people in the audience who.
No, sorry, this is the.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the property, sorry. All right, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 75 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 76.
Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and debt service fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett, do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
the motion.
Second,
Go.
Councilmember Kennedy, discussion?
The numbers are good? Numbers are good?
Auntie's not here,
We're good.
so they're good. I did just want to know, recognize, this is something new that we're doing, and Andy actually has done quite a good job with this. We're going to
Amazing
use
job.
the interest that's accumulated from the debt service fund. And I do appreciate Andy moving forward with this. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 76 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 77.
Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets to allow funding for said capital project. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Paratori. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second,
Go.
Councilmember Gully, and this is a budget amendment for Mount Ida Dam. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 77 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Now we are on the ordinance authorizing and directing, ordinance 79. Thank you.
Ordinance authorizing and directing sales by the proposal sale method of city-owned real property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, it's a tie. I'm going to give it to Councilmember Garrett because she's not sharing.
I'll take a
Her
second.
M&Ms. Councilmember Garrett, motion. Do I have a second?
I gotta second that.
Second, Councilmember Gully.
Council President.
Yes, the subcommittee, Councilmember
I
Cummings.
will say, there's one tiny change I'd ask for on this, which is to strike, the Stanford Ave. I'll explain it with this real quick. There's a whole bunch of properties that used to belong to an organization called Fishlong LLC. Tried to do a development up there. It's rare that the city of Troy have a section of property this large, 14 acres of beautiful wooded land, available to us. We're currently proposed to sell the sections that are shaded, for the
What shade?
uses, described.
Blue, green, or
in the
brown?
shade. So
Yeah, can you
the
explain?
red shade on Euclid Ave on the left is to build a house. That is the property sale to Mr. Christopher Keen. Sorry. The green shade over there is to sell to the adjacent neighbor, for extension of her yard, their yard, Joshua and Megan Labarge. The green shade above sells again to that adjacent neighbor. That's, I think, Kimberly Mawad. Then all of this blue section is currently proposed to be sold to Chris Knowles,
Okay.
whose proposal was to protect it as protected land, which is great. And I think that's still a good plan to go forward. We did walk it the other day with the land trust, and there is some interest from the land trust in helping preserve it more long-term and develop some trails on it and other things. And so given that interest, what I'm asking is that we hold this last section, this red section over on the side, currently marked Sanford Ave. That is a street right now. You'll note the paper street next to it. There's a road that comes in and goes across that red area to this one house to the right of it. The owner of that house had proposed to buy it, but for sort of two reasons. Either if we want to provide access to a preserve that gets developed, I'd like to maintain it for now. Or if in the end we decide to sell it to him, I'd like to make sure we merge it with the paper streets around so that we don't end up having him own part of it and not the other part of it. As you'll see on this map, there are paper streets that he's currently using for access, and this doesn't provide him complete access.
No, who's he? Chris Knowles?
So this is
No,
the,
neighbor, Kimberly?
Joe
or-
Plouffe?
yeah, Plouffe.
Plouffe.
Oh, Plouffe, Joe Plouffe. Okay, so he's the one in Stanford.
So that's
yeah.
the $500 offer. I think he's currently using it, and I think we do need to resolve it in the next several months, but I think it'd be good to give a little bit of time to figure out what's going on. Whether, if there does end up being a preserve, I want to make sure that there's access to it
So
for
you're
neighbors off
only-
South Lake.
I'm sorry, you're only proposing to eliminate the Stanford
The Stanford
Ave to Joseph Plouffe?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're saying Chris Knowles?
Yeah, the
still-
rest I think are acceptable at this point, just
I-
from my conversations and from the proposals themselves. It's all about, they've proposed to protect that land.
I'm super familiar with this area. It's across the Hoosick Street from my house. I've walked it several times. The only reason, I just wish that you had asked the council to join you. I would have liked to have walked it with you. But, I mean, have you spoken to the potential
I
Joseph
haven't gotten a
Plouffe?
chance to talk to Joseph Plouffe yet, unfortunately.
I mean, was that talked about all in the subcommittee? Like, when did it arise?
This was
I
not
guess?
talked about in the sub.
I
We
just,
did in the
But it
subcommittee,
is-
in the subcommittee, we did talk about the strangeness of.
Right, we
the
did,
paper
we didn't talk
streets,
about,
and we suggested that they merge those all and sell it all at once. So I think, as a fallback, we should do that anyway.
Yep.
But I did talk to Sharon this afternoon about it as well, and she was okay.
yeah, and I'm not opposed to just in the future, if you could let us know, only because I would love to have live.
I would love to, yeah,
I-
agree. Yeah, that would have been lovely.
would
take a
that-
video, show it to me later.
All right.
I gotta
so,
work every day.
Discussion,
So, like I said, I'll make a motion to
yep.
strike.
I'll second
Can I
it
just
to
clarify, you wanna
continue
strike the
the
Stanford
Uh,
Ave to Joseph
Correct.
Plouffe.
Right, we're gonna hold that.
101.67-4-5.
I'll second it to discuss. Councilmember Kennedy, did you have a question?
No, it was just a point, it was just a point for clarity that myself and David December did walk these parcels, and we do agree with this approach.
Just, if you could inform the rest of us, that'd be great.
I'm with Jim. Send me a video.
No, we could have went separately.
You could have definitely.
I mean, it would have been quorum. I'm saying we could have
All right.
went separately. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have wanted to go, but yeah,
Are we
it's
voting on
close
the,
to my house.
amendment?
Saying that, further discussion on any other of the, sales? Was there anything?
No.
Okay.
I would like to point out one thing.
Yeah.
There was one application that made everybody like get uplifted and had just made us all smile. And I want to say that young woman is in a room today, Anastasia Lewitton. Stand up and say hi. And I'm excited to see her and her two daughters become homeowners in Troy.
It's a long time coming.
Absolutely.
Her daughters actually drew pictures for her, and it was, the daughter sold the house.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate your patience this evening, but yeah, this is long overdue. You have been with us, how many years now? 3 years in Troy?
Since I was 17, I've been in Troy.
But- Exactly. Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's on
this
the-
is
that's
on
the
the
amendment.
amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On the amended ordinance 79, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember
Second.
December. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, Councilmember Kennedy. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 70.
Congratulations,
passes
Anastasia.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Congratulations. Ordinance 80.
Ordinance transferring funds within the 2019 general fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 80 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 62.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to finalize and execute a lease agreement with the Troy Albany Hockey Association related to the Career Park Ice Rink facility. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 62 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 63.
Resolution authorizing the city clerk to waive marriage license and certificate fees for active duty members of the armed forces. Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, Councilmember Kennedy. Discussion? Quickly, state law passed to waive the fee for active duty members of the armed forces of the United States to waive the marriage fee. So it also, part of that marriage fee, the state will automatically be waived by state law, and it allows municipalities to opt in to waive the municipal fee. I did check on the fiscal impact of this, and I believe we had 2 marriages of active duty military.
We have a time that we've been here since last January, we've had 2 active duty members.
So-
We don't have any, have requested marriage certificates that are $10 each.
Yeah.
It'll be a handful of those.
So the beauty is, it's a huge thank you for certainly a minimal fiscal impact, and I appreciate my colleagues supporting this. It's a small gesture to say thank you to our active duty military folks. I must add, the veterans of Lansingburg actually contacted me and said, well, Carmilla, if you're proposing to waive the fees for active duty for marriage licenses, what about divorces? It was a joke. A little light humor, so it was a little light humor. He took me off guard, that being PJ did it. So anyway, I do appreciate my colleagues' support. It's a small gesture to say thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 63 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
All right.
Council President, before you close the
We have
meeting,
a public forum. first. Public forum. And then we'll do business. I
Okay.
promise.
Go speak in public forum.
Okay.
Public forum, would anyone like to speak on anything happening in your neighborhood? Any issues? Okay, the public forum section's closed. Councilmember Gully, you have the floor.
I would just like to point out that this weekend is the Uncle Sam birthday bash as we create again the Uncle Sam celebration. We are bringing that back to Knickerbocker Park, and we are going to create a show with four musical acts, a comedian, a magician, clowns, face painting, giant bouncy house for kids, balloon art, puppet shows, obstacle courses, and we want to make this as family oriented as we can. There'll be no alcohol allowed in on coolers, but you can buy beer there, as we will be able to help the adults deal with the kids all day. So I'd like to say to my council members, I hope that you would take time to come up, or I hope you would tell some of your friends to come on up, share this day with us, and help us to drive this celebration back to where it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garrett.
I can't come because I won't be here, but I just wanted to go on record saying that my daughter was runner-up for Miss Uncle Sam. And I'll pass this along.
Pass that along. If anybody wants those, let me know, I'll get you one.
Okay, cool. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
10 for you.
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember
Second.
Garrett. Do I have a second? Councilmember
Oh,
Gully.
now you took it early.
All in favor? Opposed? You do know what.
I am running. I'm, what time is it?
It's 10 o'clock.
Oh my God, I've got to be up in a few hours.